Introduction. The collective hypnosis. Breathe. Now look around you. Look at the walls of your room, the screen of your device, the clothes you are wearing. You feel that all of this is real, right? You feel that you have chosen to be here, that you have chosen your job, your tastes, your fears, and even your dreams. You believe you are the captain of your ship. But I have to tell you something that, in the pit of your stomach, you have suspected for a long time. Everything is a stage. And you have been reciting a script that you never wrote. Welcome to the collective hypnosis. Most human beings do not live. They function. They are born. They are tamed by their parents and schools. They learn to fear authority. They learn to desire things they do not need to impress people they do not care about. They reproduce. They grow old and die, believing that was life. They walk down the street with open eyes, but their minds are sound asleep. They are dreaming a dream of worry, debt, and social validation. They call that normality. I call it trance. You have spent years searching for the exit key. You have read books on how to earn more money, how to find a partner, how to be more productive. You have tried to decorate your cell with nicer furniture. You have tried to be the best slave on the plantation, but no amount of success in the dream will wake you up. Winning the game of society is useless if the game is rigged from the start. This audiobook, The Master Code, is not another self-help manual. I am not here to teach you how to manifest a new car, or how to think positively while the ship sinks. That would be giving you a painkiller. I am here to give you the antidote, and the antidote, at first, tastes bitter. I am here to show you the wires. I am here to take you behind the curtain, so you can see that the Wizard of Oz is just an old man moving levers. We are going to talk about things no one talks about at Christmas dinner. We will talk about how your energy is drained by invisible structures. We will talk about the blood contracts you signed with your ancestors. We will talk about death not as an end, but as a life strategy. And we will talk about sexuality not as pleasure, but as nuclear engineering. I warn you, this knowledge has a price. The price is your innocence. Once you see the code, you will not be able to stop seeing it. You will no longer be able to get angry at the news because you will see the puppet strings. You will no longer be able to suffer for love in the same way because you will understand the mechanics of the mirror. You will no longer be normal. You will be free. But freedom is lonely at first. If you are looking for comfort, close this audiobook now. Go back to sleep. It is warmer and safer under the blanket of ignorance. But if you are tired of pretending, if you feel a splinter in your mind that won't leave you alone, if you are willing to let everything you thought you knew crumble, then stay. Chapter 1. The Attention Devourers, Egregores and Pendulums. Humanity is not free. Humanity is a herd that believes itself to be the shepherd. While you argue about politics, cry over football, or get outraged by the news, someone is dining on your energy. They are not demons with horns. They are structures that you yourself have created and that have now taken on a life of their own. The Book of the Damned. Look at your life. Observe it with the coldness of a forensic scientist. You wake up tired. You go to a job that consumes 8 hours but leaves you breathless for the other 8. You get home and turn on a screen. You see news that infuriates or scares you. You go on social media and compare yourself, get indignant or desire. You go to bed feeling drained. You use that word often, drained, as if you were a battery whose charge has been sucked out. I have news for you. It is not a metaphor. It is literal. You are a battery, and you are living on a farm. You have been taught that the most valuable resource in the world is gold, oil, or data. False. The most valuable resource in the universe is human attention. Attention is pure creative energy. It is the blood of the cosmos. Where you put your attention, you put your life. If you put your attention on a flower, the flower grows in your reality. If you put it on a war, the war grows. But what happens when millions of people put their attention on the same concept at the same time? What happens when a whole nation vibrates in fear, or euphoria, or hate? That energy does not disappear. Energy is neither created nor destroyed. That energy groups together. It condenses, it gains consciousness, and an egregore is born. Today we are going to talk about the invisible predators that govern your society. They are not extraterrestrials, nor conspiracies of men in smoke-filled rooms. They are much more dangerous because they live in your mind and you feed them voluntarily every day. For the anatomy of the monster, what is an egregore? The word egregore comes from the Greek egregorein, which means to watch or to be vigilant. In ancient occultism, it referred to a collective thought form. Imagine this. A group of people gathers with a very strong common intention. Let's say a religious sect, a radical political party, or the fans of a football team in a final. Everyone is feeling the same thing: adoration, hatred of the rival, unbridled passion. They are emitting synchronized brain and heart waves. That mass of energy detaches from the individuals and merges into an invisible cloud over the group. At first, that cloud is just a passive reservoir. But if the group keeps feeding it day after day, year after year, the cloud develops an instinct for survival. It gains a pseudo-life. It becomes an autonomous entity. It no longer needs you to create it. Now it manages you. It becomes a psychic predator. Its only goal, like that of any living organism, is not to die. And to not die, it needs to eat. What do egregores eat? They eat the only thing they are made of: your emotional attention. The egregore of war needs hate and fear. If people stop hating, the egregore starves. Therefore, it will manipulate the subconscious of leaders and masses to provoke conflict and ensure its dinner. The egregore of economic crisis feeds on your anxiety about money. The egregore of fashion feeds on your insecurity and your desire to belong. They are not bad in a moral sense, just as a lion is not bad for eating a zebra. They are simply hungry. And you are the zebra. THIS the pendulums, the movement of the trap. The Russian physicist and mystic Vadim Zeland called these structures pendulums. It is a perfect image. Imagine a giant swing oscillating. For the swing to move, someone has to push it. Every time you react emotionally to an external event, a news item, a tweet, a comment from your boss, you give the pendulum a push. You transfer your kinetic energy to it. The pendulum swings higher, becomes stronger, and you remain still and weak. The brilliant and terrifying thing about the system is that the pendulum doesn't care if you push it from the right or from the left. It doesn't care if you love it or hate it. If you are a religious fanatic shouting hallelujah, you are feeding the egregore of that religion. If you are a militant atheist who spends the day hating and criticizing that religion, you are feeding the same egregore. Why? Because your attention is fixed on it. Hate is a very potent form of attraction. Hate is a bond. As long as you are emotionally hooked, the predator eats. Observe modern politics. It is an all-you-can-eat buffet for the egregores. They have created a perfect polarization, left versus right. They ensure you are indignant with the other side. They ensure you feel fear that they might win. They keep you in a constant state of low vibration, anger, contempt, fear. You believe you are fighting for justice, for freedom, or for morality. In reality, you are a disposable battery supplying voltage to the system so the pendulum keeps swinging. The egregore doesn't care who wins the election. It cares that there is conflict, because conflict is the main course. Peace is the famine of the dark gods. Varying subtle possession. It is not you who thinks. How to know if you are under the influence of an egregore? It's easy. You lose your individuality and your rationality. When you are connected to a strong pendulum, you stop being you and become a cell of the egregore. Observe a person possessed by the egregore of football. He is a calm man, a loving father, a rational employee. But Sunday comes, he puts on the jersey, the habit of the cult, enters the stadium, the temple, and transforms. He shouts, insults, cries, hugs strangers, feels euphoria or depression that is not proportional to reality. It's just a ball entering a net. If you insult his team, he is capable of hitting you. At that moment, that man does not exist. His mind has been hijacked by the cloud. The egregore is feeling through him. The egregore is using his throat to scream. When the match ends, the man wakes up and returns home empty without knowing why he is so exhausted. This happens at all levels. It happens in corporations. The company spirit is an egregore. It demands loyalty, sacrifice, unpaid overtime. It makes you feel guilty if you leave early. It makes you believe your human value depends on your position. It happens in families. There is the egregore of family drama. At Christmas, everyone knows they're going to argue. They don't want to do it, but an invisible force pushes the exact buttons, brings up old grudges, and suddenly everyone is screaming. The family egregore needed its annual banquet of pain to survive another year. When you repeat clichés you heard on television without analyzing them, it is not you speaking. It is the egregore speaking through you. You are a signal repeater, a biological antenna. There's the mechanism of provocation, the harvest. Egregores do not wait passively for you to give them energy. They provoke it. They are masters of psychological manipulation. They know exactly what hurts you. They know where you have an open wound. If the pendulum feels you are falling asleep, that you are calm and at peace, it will prick you. It will send you an intrusive thought of worry. What if I get fired? It will make someone look at you poorly in the subway. It will make your car break down at the worst moment. It will make your social media algorithm show you exactly the news that most outrages you. The goal is to knock you off your center. The goal is to break your balance. In the moment you react, scream, get scared, worry, the valve opens and the gas comes out. The egregore inhales that gas. Have you noticed that bad streaks usually come in waves? Something bad happens to you, you get angry, and bang, something worse happens and then another. It is because you have started to oscillate with the frequency of the pendulum of misfortune. The more you complain, the more energy you give it, and the harder it hits you to squeeze more juice out of you. It is an infernal feedback cycle. The human farm, the system. If you take a step back and look at society through these lenses, you will see the horror and the wonder of social engineering. The entire system is designed to keep you in a state of constant energy emission. The news are fear machines, egregore of security. Advertising is a machine of envy and lack, egregore of consumption. Entertainment is a distraction machine so you don't look inward, egregore of banality. They keep us in high beta, stress brainwaves. They don't want you in alpha or theta, relaxation, creativity, meditation. Because a relaxed, creative, and happy human being is energetically inedible. Their vibration is too high and subtle. Egregores like junk food, dense, sticky, and heavy emotions. Autonomous happiness is poison for the system. That's why when someone is genuinely free and happy, society, the great mother egregore, tries to attack them, ridicule them, or bring them down to reality. What are you laughing at if the world is in a terrible state? They tell you. Translation: stop shining and return to the farm to give us your black milk. For the savior's trap, to fight is to lose. Here is where most of the awakened fall into the second trap. They realize the matrix and decide to fight against it. They become activists, revolutionaries, light warriors. They go out into the streets to shout, "Down with the system, death to the egregores." And the system smiles, because as we said, to fight is to feed. Resistance creates friction. Friction creates heat. Heat is energy. If you go out to fight against injustice with a heart full of hate towards the unjust, you become part of the same mechanism. You only change the color of the jersey, but the game is the same. Look at history. How many revolutions have ended up becoming worse tyrannies than the ones they overthrew? Almost all of them, because the egregore of revolution feeds on blood and anger, and when it comes to power, it needs to keep eating. So it creates new enemies. You cannot put out a fire by throwing more fire at it. 7. The master exit, the state of emptiness. So are we doomed? Are we cattle with no escape? No. There is an exit door. It is narrow, but it exists. The pendulums have a fatal weakness. They cannot see what has no electrical charge. They are like the T-Rex from Jurassic Park. Their vision is based on emotional movement. If you stay still internally, you become invisible. The strategy to defeat the devourers is not war. It is emptiness. It is radical indifference. It is not an indifference of, "I don't care about anything," apathy, but a sovereignty of, "I do not give you my energy." When the pendulum provokes you, an outrageous piece of news, an insult, you do not react. You look at it, you observe it, but you do not swallow it. You become transparent. You let the provocation pass through you without touching any nerve. You say, "Ah, look, an attempted energy theft. Interesting. No thanks." If you do not react, the pendulum gives you a couple more nudges. If you remain empty, it ignores you and goes to look for another, more reactive victim. It has left you alone. You have left the game. First, renting versus selling living in the world. This does not mean you should go live in a cave. It means living in the world but not being of the world. It means renting yourself instead of selling yourself. You can work in a corporation, but knowing it is a game. You do not surrender your soul to it. You do your job impeccably, you collect your money and you leave without taking the drama home. You can have a political preference, but without hating the opponent and without losing sleep over it. You vote and move on with your life. You can watch a football match and enjoy it, but if your team loses, you shrug and smile. This attitude of lucid player makes you immune. You walk among the pendulums without them hitting you. You become the owner of your attention, and when you recover your attention, you recover your vital energy. Suddenly, you are no longer drained. You have strength to create, to heal, to build your own reality. THIS, the return of sovereignty. The first step to leaving the hypnosis is to declare your energy sovereignty. You must make an inventory of your leaks. What are you gifting your life to? To the fear of a disease? To the rage against a former politician? To the worry about what your neighbors think? Each of those things is a tube connected to your solar plexus, sucking your light. Cut the tubes. Do it now. Withdraw your attention. Say, "I return this energy to its origin, and I recover my purified energy." Feel how you fill up again. Your attention is your treasure. It is the only real currency you have. Do not throw it to the pigs. Do not gift it to the monsters. Use it to water your own garden. Chapter 2. The Ghostly Lineage, Ancestral Karma. The dead are not dead. They are alive in your blood, shouting through your mouth, weeping through your eyes, and repeating their tragedies through your decisions. Until you make conscious what lives in your biological unconscious, the past will direct your life and you will call it fate. Carl G. Jung paraphrased. Look at yourself in the mirror. You think you are seeing an individual. You think that face is yours, those eyes are yours, and that the thoughts turning behind your forehead are your exclusive property. It is biology's greatest optical illusion. You are not alone in that body. You are a legion. Behind you, in the shadow of your DNA's double helix, thousands of ghosts crowd together. There are your father and mother. Behind them, 4 grandparents. Behind them, 8 great-grandparents, 16 great-great-grandparents, 32, 64. If you go back just 10 generations, you have 1,024 direct ancestors standing behind you. 1,000 people. 1,000 stories, 1,000 traumas, 1,000 broken loves, 1,000 wars, 1,000 hungers. Do you really believe the energy of 1,000 lives dissolved into nothingness when their bodies touch the earth? Do you really believe you are a blank page? Modern science, epigenetics, and ancient wisdom agree on this. You inherit much more than eye color. You inherit the fear of scarcity from your great-grandfather who lived through the war. You inherit the distrust of men from your grandmother who was cheated on. You inherit the inexplicable sadness of an aunt who lost a child. You are the current chapter of a novel that began to be written centuries ago. And if you do not learn to read the previous pages, you are condemned to repeat the script, word for word, believing it is your own improvisation. Today we are going to talk about the ghostly lineage. We will talk about why your bad luck in love has the name of a dead woman. We will talk about why your money disappears just when you reach the amount your grandfather lost. We are going to enter the family crypt to turn on the light. Try the biological library, the code in the blood. For decades, scientists believed DNA was only a physical blueprint. Height, skin color, predisposition to diabetes. But epigenetics has broken that glass ceiling. Now we know that DNA is also a hard drive of emotional memory. A famous experiment with mice proved it. One generation of mice was exposed to the smell of cherries while receiving a small electric shock. They learned to fear the smell of cherries. Their children, who never received the shock, were born fearing the smell of cherries. Their grandchildren, who never knew the grandfather or the electricity, were born fearing the smell. The trauma had been recorded in the genetic switch. The information traveled in the sperm and the egg. Caution. The smell of cherries means danger. You are that mouse. Perhaps you have an irrational panic of being visible or speaking in public. You treat it with therapy, you rationalize it, but the fear persists in your body. What if I told you it is not your fear? What if it is the fear of an ancestor who was persecuted, judged or executed for speaking? For them, keeping silent was survival. That survival program, if you speak, you die, was recorded in the blood and reached you. You feel it as social anxiety. Your biology feels it as a vital defense. You carry survival programs that are already expired. Your ancestors lived through famines. You live in abundance, but you eat with anxiety because the program says, accumulate fat just in case. Your ancestors lived in war. You live in peace, but your nervous system is always alert. You are a modern computer running 19th century software. Carry invisible loyalty. One dies for love. Why do we repeat the pain? Why do we not simply inherit the good? Here enters the most painful mystery of the human soul. Blind love. The inner child, that tender and vulnerable core we all carry, has a supreme biological mandate: to belong. For a mammal, being expelled from the herd means death. Belonging means survival. And to belong, the child is willing to do anything, even sacrifice themselves. There is an unconscious contract you sign at birth. It is called invisible family loyalty. The child's soul says, Dad, Mom, I love you so much that I will be like you. If you suffer, I suffer. If you are poor, I will be poor. I will not dare to be happier than you, because that would be treason. This sounds terrible to the rational mind, but it is the law of the tribe. If you come from a lineage of submissive and mistreated women, and you try to be a free, successful, and empowered woman, you will feel an inexplicable guilt. You will feel that you are betraying the women of your clan. You will feel you are leaving them behind. And to relieve that guilt, you will unconsciously sabotage yourself. You will seek a partner who belittles you, or you will lose your success, just to go back down to the level of pain of your clan and say, look, I am one of you. This is the mechanism of ancestral karma. It is not a divine punishment. It is archaic love. It is a childish attempt to heal the pain of the parents by assuming it as one's own. But it is a useless love. Because if you get sick to accompany your sick mother, now there are 2 sick people and no healer, the pain doubles. 3. The anniversary syndrome, the echo in time. The ghostly lineage is mathematical. It is precise. Often trauma is not only repeated in content but in date. This is called the anniversary syndrome. The family unconscious has an internal clock that forgets nothing. Research your family tree and you will be amazed. Your grandfather died of a heart attack at 45. Your father had his first anxiety attack at 45. You got divorced or went bankrupt at 45. An aunt died in childbirth on October 12th. You have a car accident or a depressive crisis on October 12th, 30 years later. Why? Because the family system is trying to close the cycle. An alarm is ringing. The original traumatic event was not processed. There was silence, there was repressed pain, so the energy remained frozen in time. When the biological calendar reaches that date or age, the time bomb reactivates in the next generation, looking for someone who can release that energy. You are the designated volunteer. Your sudden depression without apparent cause may be the unwept mourning of your grandmother that activates in you on the anniversary date. You are not depressed. You are temporarily possessed by a memory seeking a way out. There's the secrets of the crypt. What is silenced is screamed. In every family there is a crypt. It is the place where unconfessable secrets were kept. The suicide disguised as an accident. The illegitimate child sent away. The inheritance stolen from a brother. The grandfather who was in prison. The abortion never mentioned. The family believes that by hiding the secret, it protects the clan. Out of sight, out of mind. Grave error. In the master code of reality, everything that is excluded gains power. The secret is like radioactive material buried in the basement. It is not seen, but it poisons everyone living in the house. It generates an atmosphere of tension, of lying, of floating anxiety. The descendants, you, pick up that radiation. They are born with the mission to take the skeleton out of the closet, and they do it through symptoms. The hyperactive child is expressing the agitation of the unspoken secret. The anorexic daughter is expressing the disappearance of someone erased from the clan. The schizophrenic grandson is hearing the voices the family silenced. As the systemic aphorism says, what the mouth silences, the body screams in the next generation. Healing the lineage implies opening the crypt. V the double. Whose clone are you? To deactivate the program, you must first know what program you are running. You must discover whose double you are. In every family, roles are recycled. You are not new. You are the reprint of someone previous. How to know whose double you are? By name. If you are named after your grandfather, you carry his backpack. The name is a mantra of identity. If you are named Salvador, Savior, Dolores, Sorrows, or Angustias, Anguish, the mandate is explicit. If you are named after a dead sibling, replacement child, your mission is to live the life of a dead person. By date of birth. If you were born on the same date, or close to it as an ancestor, or on the date of their death, you are their symbolic twin. You inherit their talents, but also their unresolved conflicts. By profession. All men are doctors, all women are teachers. If you break that line, you feel your skin being torn. By physical likeness. They look just like Aunt Jane. That phrase is a sentence of neuro-linguistic programming. Being a double is not bad in itself. You inherit that ancestor's strength, but it is dangerous if you are not conscious. If you are the double of a grandfather who went bankrupt, you will have a compulsion to ruin yourself. Your job is to say, grandfather, I take your strength and your name, but I leave your fate with you. Your life was yours, mine is mine. Vihi, the black sheep, the savior of the system. If you are listening to this, it is very likely that you are the black sheep. You are the weird one, the one looking for answers, the one in therapy, the one who doesn't fit into the rigid norms of the clan. During years, you have thought something was wrong with you. You have suffered the rejection and criticism of the herd. I have to reveal your true function. The black sheep is not the problem, it is the solution. In a sick and toxic system, the one who adapts is sick. The one who rebels is the only healthy one. You are the immune system of the clan. You are the evolutionary agent sent to clean the blood. You were born with the frequency needed to say, enough. Abuse ends here. Alcoholism ends here. Poverty ends here. Your pain, your loneliness, and your search are not punishments. They are your training. You are the chain breaker. The price is high, but the reward is freedom. You don't just free yourself. You free your children and your ancestors, who can finally rest because someone has resolved their conflict. You are your ancestors' dream, even if they, in their blindness, criticize you. Seventh, the poverty contract, economic loyalty. Let's talk about money, because this is where the ghostly lineage hits hardest. Money is life energy. It is territory. If you come from a family that experienced hunger, war, or believes that the rich are evil, you have a chip installed. Money is dangerous or dirty. If your grandfather was killed for having money, your biology screams, having money kills, get rid of it, and you unconsciously spend everything you earn or make bad deals. You aren't stupid, you are loyal to the clan's survival, or perhaps you have the vow of solidarity. If everyone in your family is a humble worker and you start making a lot of money, you feel class guilt. You feel you no longer belong. You feel you humiliate them with your success. To not lose their love, you hold yourself back. You put a glass ceiling on yourself. Breaking economic loyalty requires fierce courage. It requires saying internally, "Dear ancestors, I pay the price of guilt for being rich, and in exchange I do good things with this money in your honor. Being poor does not help you. Being rich allows me to heal the tree." Vate, the deactivation protocol, returning the package. How do you exit this possession? How do you stop being a puppet of the dead? It is not done by hating the family. To hate is to bind. If you leave home slamming the door and shouting, "I will never be like you," I assure you that you will end up identical to them. What you resist persists. The exit is through recognition and return. You must perform a psycho-magic act, an internal ritual of separation. Visualize your parents and grandparents behind you. Look at them with respect. They did what they could with the tools and traumas they had. They are victims of victims. Visualize that you are carrying a heavy backpack on your back. That backpack contains their fears, their frustrations, their secrets. Take it off. Look at it and say, "Dear ancestor, I have carried this out of love for you. I thought I was helping you, but I realize it doesn't serve you and it kills me. Today I decide that I love you, but I do not follow you. Today I return this package. It is yours. It is up to you to carry your fate. I can only carry mine. I honor your life by doing something beautiful with mine. Please, look upon me kindly if I dare to be different, and if you don't look upon me kindly, I will do it anyway." Feel how you leave the burden at their feet. You don't throw it with rage, you return it with dignity. You turn toward life, forward. Feel the vacuum on your back. That vacuum is your freedom. Now you can walk lightly. Sign, the golden gift taking the strength. But be careful. Don't just leave with the return. If you only see the trauma in your family, you remain weak. Your ancestors are not just a source of problems, they are also the battery of life. They are survivors. Think about it. For you to be here, thousands of people had to survive plagues, wars, and famines. You carry in your blood the strength of 1,000 victors. You carry the resilience of iron. You carry the cunning. You carry the capacity to love despite everything. That is the golden inheritance. When you return the trash, the trauma, you must consciously decide to take the strength. Say, "Grandmother, I leave you your submission, but I take your capacity to care. Grandfather, I leave you your alcoholism, but I take your strength to work the land. Filter the lineage. Keep the gold nuggets and let the mud pass." Feeling your ancestors as a backing army gives you immense power in the world. Chapter 3. The Mask of the Shadow, Integration of Evil. I would rather be a whole man than a good man. Goodness is often cowardice disguised as morality. Wholeness, on the other hand, requires embracing the monster that lives in the basement, sitting it at the table and feeding it, so that it does not devour the house from its foundations. C.G. Jung adaptation. Look at yourself. You have spent your life trying to be good. You were taught from the cradle to smile when you didn't want to share your toys when you wanted to keep them, to silence your rage, to hide your sexual desire, to be kind, complacent, harmless. They told you that if you were good, the world would treat you well. They told you that if you were good, you would go to heaven. That if you were good, you would be loved, and yet here you are, tired, frustrated, perhaps sick. You see how the bad ones, the selfish, the aggressive, those who take what they want without asking permission, often succeed, are magnetic and sleep soundly. Meanwhile, you consume yourself in your moral rectitude, waiting for a reward that never arrives. I have brutal news for you. The universe does not reward goodness, it rewards truth. And you, my dear, good friend, are living a lie. You have amputated half of your soul to fit into a neurotic society. You have taken all your power, your aggressiveness, your ambition, your lust, your ability to say no, and you have locked it in a dark basement within your psyche. Carl Jung called that basement the shadow. You think that by locking up the monster, you have become a saint. You are wrong. By locking up the monster, you have become harmless. And a harmless being is not virtuous. It is simply weak. A rabbit is not virtuous because it does not eat the wolf. It is virtuous because it cannot. True virtue requires having the capacity to be a monster, the capacity to cause harm, and having that strength under voluntary control. Today we are going to go down to the basement. We are going to break the padlock. We are going to rescue your inner demon, not so that it destroys the world, but so that it gives you the energy necessary to conquer it. By the amputation of the soul, the creation of the character. No one is born good or bad. We are born whole. A small child is a being of totality. They cry with fury, laugh with ecstasy, are selfish with their food, are generous with their kisses. They have no filter. They are pure vital energy. But then the process of domestication begins. Your parents, your teachers, and your priests tell you, don't shout, don't touch that, don't be selfish, and that's a sin. Good girls don't get angry. Boys don't cry. To survive and be accepted, the supreme biological mandate, The child takes psychic scissors and begins to cut parts of themselves. They cut their rage. They cut their sexual curiosity. They cut their pride. Where do those cut pieces go? They do not disappear. Energy is neither created nor destroyed. They go to the shadow. They go to the unconscious. And you build a mask, the persona, made only of the acceptable parts. You become an actor playing the role of the exemplary citizen, the selfless mother, or the perfect employee. But the mask is thin, and underneath, in the darkness, the cut pieces have rotted, have merged, and have taken on a life of their own. They have become a hungry dragon clawing at the walls of your mind. 2. The anatomy of the monster. What's in the bag? What exactly is the shadow? People think that in the shadow there are only murderers, thieves, and perverts. False. In the shadow is everything that you reject about yourself, and that includes, paradoxically, your gold. If you grew up in a family where being rich was considered bad and dirty, then your ambition is there. If you grew up where standing out was dangerous, your artistic talent and your leadership are in your shadow. If they taught you that sex is dirty, your passion, your creativity, and your magnetism are in your shadow. 90% of your vitality is kidnapped in the basement. Think about it. It requires an immense amount of energy to keep a beach ball submerged under water. You spend your life pushing down your rage, your desire, and your selfishness. That leaves you exhausted. It leaves you without energy to live. You live at half speed. You are a 100-watt bulb that only uses 10 because it's afraid. The shadow is not evil. It is raw energy. It is nuclear fuel. Without shadow there is no light. Without roots in hell, no branch can touch the sky. 3. The mirror of hatred projection. How do you know what is in your shadow if it is unconscious? The universe, in its infinite irony, shows it to you every day through projection. The psychological law says, what you deny submits you, what you accept transforms you. And it also says, what irritates you about others is what you do not accept about yourself. Think of that person you can't stand, that arrogant co-worker, that corrupt politician, that selfish relative. You feel a visceral reaction. Your blood boils. You judge them harshly. Listen well, they are your mirror. If you didn't have that quality inside you repressed, you couldn't recognize it outside with such emotional charge. It would be indifferent to you. If you hate the arrogant, it is because your shadow is shouting, I want to be arrogant, I want to feel important, and I don't dare. I envy their freedom to be an idiot. If you hate the selfish, it is because your shadow, tired of sacrificing for others, shouts, I also want to think of myself. The world is a movie screen where you project your own film. The villains of your life are actors hired by your soul to show you what you have hidden in the basement. Hating them is useless. Hating them is hating yourself. As long as you keep pointing your finger outward, you will remain a slave. The master stops judging because he knows he is capable of every crime and every virtue. He knows he carries Hitler and Gandhi within himself, and by knowing it, he stops projecting and begins to integrate. IV, the good child syndrome, the neurosis of goodness. Let's return to the good boy or good girl. It is the plague of our era. People who are unable to say no. People who let themselves be trampled at work, who attract narcissistic partners who abuse them, and who then cry asking, why does this happen to me if I am so good? It happens to you because you are edible. In nature, what has no defenses is eaten. If you have no shadow or have it hidden, you have no teeth, you have no limits. Your goodness is not real. It is a survival strategy based on fear. You are good because you are afraid they will reject you if you are bad. That is cowardice, not goodness. Furthermore, the good child accumulates resentment. Every time you say yes when you wanted to say no, you swallow poison. That poison accumulates. And one day, it explodes. It explodes as an autoimmune disease, the body attacking itself. It explodes as depression, or it explodes as a disproportionate attack of rage. The shadow always wins. If you do not invite it in through the door, it will tear down the house. V, the value of evil, sacred aggressiveness. To exit this trap, we must redefine the terms. We must clean the name of negative emotions. Let's talk about aggressiveness. Society tells you it's bad. I tell you it's essential. The word aggressiveness comes from the Latin ad gradere, which means to go towards. Without aggressiveness, you cannot go towards your goals. Without aggressiveness, you cannot defend your children. Without aggressiveness, you cannot conquer a territory, ask for a raise, or seduce a partner. Aggressiveness is the engine of advancement. The problem is not aggressiveness, it is violence, which is uncontrolled aggressiveness. But if you repress aggressiveness, you become passive, helpless, and depressed. Let's talk about selfishness. They tell you to think of others before yourself. That is suicide. If you do not fill yourself first, what are you going to give to others? Your leftovers? Your tiredness? Conscious selfishness is the basis of healthy love. It means I take care of myself, I respect myself, and I prioritize myself to be strong and thus better serve the world. Only those who possess themselves can give themselves to others. Let's talk about lust. They tell you it's dirty. It is the force that creates life. It is the divine spark in matter. Repressing your desire is castrating your creativity. Sexual energy and creative energy are the same thing. An artist, an entrepreneur, or a leader needs to be connected with their inner animal to have charisma. Charisma is at heart sublimated sexual energy. It is integrated shadow. Further finding the monster, the ritual of the black mirror. How is the shadow integrated? How do we eat the monster to gain its strength? It is not an intellectual process. It is visceral. It requires going down to the basement. Practical exercise. Sit in the dark. Close your eyes. Invoke your shadow. Ask it to present itself. Do not expect to see something pretty. Perhaps you see a demon, a wounded animal, a murderer, a prostitute, a tyrant. Look at that image. Feel the revulsion. Feel the fear. And now, do the unthinkable. Do not run away. Stay. Look it in the eyes and ask it, what do you have for me? What are you protecting? You will discover something surprising. The murderer in your shadow is protecting your ability to set limits and defend yourself. The prostitute is protecting your sensuality and your ability to enjoy. The tyrant is protecting your leadership and your order. The monster is only monstrous because it has been chained and hungry in the dark for 30 years. If you release it and feed it, it transforms. The rabid wolf becomes a faithful guard dog. The demon becomes a daemon, protective genius. There's the forbidden conversation, dialogue of voices. To integrate, you must give voice to the forbidden. Write a letter from the point of view of your shadow. Let it speak, without moral filters, without censorship. Let it write, I hate my mother. I want to steal that money. I want to sleep with that person. I want the world to burn. By writing it, by bringing it to the light of consciousness, you take away its explosive charge. You recognize it. Ah, so this lives in me. I am a human being capable of feeling hatred. Interesting. It does not mean you are going to act on those impulses. On the contrary, the one who represses his hatred is the one who one day kills. The one who recognizes his hatred, yes, I feel like killing him, is the one who can breathe, process that energy, and decide not to do it. Consciousness gives you choice. Repression makes you a robot. Being capable of thinking terrible things and not doing them is the definition of morality. Being incapable of thinking them is simply naivety. HYPNOSIS, the danger of the saint, spiritual inflation. Beware of the light and love spirituality. It is the most dangerous trap for the seeker. Many spiritual circles promote the denial of the shadow. They tell you to vibrate high, to only have positive thoughts. That creates an enormous spiritual shadow. That is why you see so many gurus who preach love and peace, and then scandals of abuse, theft, or fraud are discovered. The more you try to go up to heaven without roots, the harder hell pulls you down. The true master is not a floating being of light. He is a rooted human being who knows his own darkness, who knows he is capable of causing harm, and who chooses light every day. His light has weight. It has gravity. It is not an innocent light. It is a light forged in fire. It is the dangerous saint. Someone you respect not because they are harmless, but because you know they have a sharp sword in the scabbard and choose not to draw it. That containment is power. Titan totality, the marriage of heaven and hell. The final goal of the Master Code is not perfection, it is totality. The word holy comes from the same root as whole. To be holy is to be whole, and to be whole, you must include everything. Day and night, summer and winter, life and death, love and war. God is not just the good, God is everything. If you reject a part of reality, you reject a part of God. When you integrate your shadow, you become magnetic. People notice it. You have something. You are no longer the boring and predictable good boy. Now you have mystery. You have depth. You have authority. When you speak, people listen because they feel there is a real force behind your words. When you love with your whole being, including your instincts, not just with your educated mind. You become real, and what is real always beats what is ideal. Chapter 3. The Mask of the Shadow, Integration of Evil. I would rather be a whole man than a good man. Goodness is often cowardice disguised as morality. Wholeness, on the other hand, requires embracing the monster that lives in the basement, sitting it at the table and feeding it, so that it does not devour the house from its foundations. C.G. Jung adaptation. Look at yourself. You have spent your life trying to be good. You were taught from the cradle to smile when you didn't want to share your toys when you wanted to keep them, to silence your rage, to hide your sexual desire, to be kind, complacent, harmless. They told you that if you were good, the world would treat you well. They told you that if you were good, you would go to heaven. That if you were good, you would be loved, and yet here you are, tired, frustrated, perhaps sick. You see how the bad ones, the selfish, the aggressive, those who take what they want without asking permission, often succeed, are magnetic and sleep soundly. Meanwhile, you consume yourself in your moral rectitude, waiting for a reward that never arrives. I have brutal news for you. The universe does not reward goodness, it rewards truth. And you, my dear, good friend, are living a lie. You have amputated half of your soul to fit into a neurotic society. You have taken all your power, your aggressiveness, your ambition, your lust, your ability to say no, and you have locked it in a dark basement within your psyche. Carl Jung called that basement the shadow. You think that by locking up the monster, you have become a saint. You are wrong. By locking up the monster, you have become harmless. And a harmless being is not virtuous. It is simply weak. A rabbit is not virtuous because it does not eat the wolf. It is virtuous because it cannot. True virtue requires having the capacity to be a monster, the capacity to cause harm, and having that strength under voluntary control. Today we are going to go down to the basement. We are going to break the padlock. We are going to rescue your inner demon, not so that it destroys the world, but so that it gives you the energy necessary to conquer it. By the amputation of the soul, the creation of the character. No one is born good or bad. We are born whole. A small child is a being of totality. They cry with fury, laugh with ecstasy, are selfish with their food, are generous with their kisses. They have no filter. They are pure vital energy. But then the process of domestication begins. Your parents, your teachers, and your priests tell you, don't shout, don't touch that, don't be selfish, and that's a sin. Good girls don't get angry. Boys don't cry. To survive and be accepted, the supreme biological mandate, the child takes psychic scissors and begins to cut parts of themselves. They cut their rage. They cut their sexual curiosity. They cut their pride. Where do those cut pieces go? They do not disappear. Energy is neither created nor destroyed. They go to the shadow. They go to the unconscious. And you build a mask, the persona, made only of the acceptable parts. You become an actor playing the role of the exemplary citizen, the selfless mother, or the perfect employee. But the mask is thin, and underneath, in the darkness, the cut pieces have rotted, have merged, and have taken on a life of their own. They have become a hungry dragon clawing at the walls of your mind. 2. The anatomy of the monster. What's in the bag? What exactly is the shadow? People think that in the shadow there are only murderers, thieves, and perverts. False. In the shadow is everything that you reject about yourself, and that includes, paradoxically, your gold. If you grew up in a family where being rich was considered bad and dirty, then your ambition is there. If you grew up where standing out was dangerous, your artistic talent and your leadership are in your shadow. If they taught you that sex is dirty, your passion, your creativity, and your magnetism are in your shadow. 90% of your vitality is kidnapped in the basement. Think about it. It requires an immense amount of energy to keep a beach ball submerged under water. You spend your life pushing down your rage, your desire, and your selfishness. That leaves you exhausted. It leaves you without energy to live. You live at half speed. You are a 100-watt bulb that only uses 10 because it's afraid. The shadow is not evil. It is raw energy. It is nuclear fuel. Without shadow, there is no light. Without roots in hell, no branch can touch the sky. Third, the mirror of hatred projection. How do you know what is in your shadow if it is unconscious? The universe, in its infinite irony, shows it to you every day through projection. The psychological law says, what you deny submits you, what you accept transforms you. And it also says, what irritates you about others is what you do not accept about yourself. Think of that person you can't stand, that arrogant co-worker, that corrupt politician, that selfish relative. You feel a visceral reaction. Your blood boils. You judge them harshly. Listen well, they are your mirror. If you didn't have that quality inside you repressed, you couldn't recognize it outside with such emotional charge. It would be indifferent to you. If you hate the arrogant, it is because your shadow is shouting, I want to be arrogant, I want to feel important, and I don't dare. I envy their freedom to be an idiot. If you hate the selfish, it is because your shadow, tired of sacrificing for others, shouts, I also want to think of myself. The world is a movie screen where you project your own film. The villains of your life are actors hired by your soul to show you what you have hidden in the basement. Hating them is useless. Hating them is hating yourself. As long as you keep pointing your finger outward, you will remain a slave. The master stops judging because he knows he is capable of every crime and every virtue. He knows he carries Hitler and Gandhi within himself, and by knowing it, he stops projecting and begins to integrate. IV, the good child syndrome, the neurosis of goodness. Let's return to the good boy or good girl. It is the plague of our era. People who are unable to say no. People who let themselves be trampled at work, who attract narcissistic partners who abuse them, and who then cry asking, why does this happen to me if I am so good? It happens to you because you are edible. In nature, what has no defenses is eaten. If you have no shadow or have it hidden, you have no teeth, you have no limits. Your goodness is not real. It is a survival strategy based on fear. You are good because you are afraid they will reject you if you are bad. That is cowardice, not goodness. Furthermore, the good child accumulates resentment. Every time you say yes when you wanted to say no, you swallow poison. That poison accumulates. And one day, it explodes. It explodes as an autoimmune disease, the body attacking itself. It explodes as depression, or it explodes as a disproportionate attack of rage. The shadow always wins. If you do not invite it in through the door, it will tear down the house. The value of evil, sacred aggressiveness. To exit this trap, we must redefine the terms. We must clean the name of negative emotions. Let's talk about aggressiveness. Society tells you it's bad. I tell you it's essential. The word aggressiveness comes from the Latin ad gradere, which means to go towards. Without aggressiveness, you cannot go towards your goals. Without aggressiveness, you cannot defend your children. Without aggressiveness, you cannot conquer a territory, ask for a raise, or seduce a partner. Aggressiveness is the engine of advancement. The problem is not aggressiveness, it is violence, which is uncontrolled aggressiveness. But if you repress aggressiveness, you become passive, helpless, and depressed. Let's talk about selfishness. They tell you to think of others before yourself. That is suicide. If you do not fill yourself first, what are you going to give to others? Your leftovers? Your tiredness? Conscious selfishness is the basis of healthy love. It means I take care of myself, I respect myself, and I prioritize myself to be strong and thus better serve the world. Only those who possess themselves can give themselves to others. Let's talk about lust. They tell you it's dirty. It is the force that creates life. It is the divine spark in matter. Repressing your desire is castrating your creativity. Sexual energy and creative energy are the same thing. An artist, an entrepreneur, or a leader needs to be connected with their inner animal to have charisma. Charisma is at heart sublimated sexual energy. It is integrated shadow. Further finding the monster, the ritual of the black mirror. How is the shadow integrated? How do we eat the monster to gain its strength? It is not an intellectual process. It is visceral. It requires going down to the basement. Practical exercise. Sit in the dark. Close your eyes. Invoke your shadow. Ask it to present itself. Do not expect to see something pretty. Perhaps you see a demon, a wounded animal, a murderer, a prostitute, a tyrant. Look at that image. Feel the revulsion. Feel the fear. And now, do the unthinkable. Do not run away. Stay. Look it in the eyes and ask it, "What do you have for me? What are you protecting?" You will discover something surprising. The murderer in your shadow is protecting your ability to set limits and defend yourself. The prostitute is protecting your sensuality and your ability to enjoy. The tyrant is protecting your leadership and your order. The monster is only monstrous because it has been chained and hungry in the dark for 30 years. If you release it and feed it, it transforms. The rabid wolf becomes a faithful guard dog. The demon becomes a daemon, protective genius. Says the forbidden conversation, dialogue of voices. To integrate, you must give voice to the forbidden. Write a letter from the point of view of your shadow. Let it speak, without moral filters, without censorship. Let it write, "I hate my mother. I want to steal that money. I want to sleep with that person. I want the world to burn." By writing it, by bringing it to the light of consciousness, you take away its explosive charge. You recognize it. Ah, so this lives in me. I am a human being capable of feeling hatred. Interesting. It does not mean you are going to act on those impulses. On the contrary, the one who represses his hatred is the one who one day kills. The one who recognizes his hatred, "Yes, I feel like killing him," is the one who can breathe, process that energy, and decide not to do it. Consciousness gives you choice. Repression makes you a robot. Being capable of thinking terrible things and not doing them is the definition of morality. Being incapable of thinking them is simply naivety. THIS, the danger of the saint, spiritual inflation. Beware of the light and love spirituality. It is the most dangerous trap for the seeker. Many spiritual circles promote the denial of the shadow. They tell you to vibrate high, to only have positive thoughts. That creates an enormous spiritual shadow. That is why you see so many gurus who preach love and peace, and then scandals of abuse, theft, or fraud are discovered. The more you try to go up to heaven without roots, the harder hell pulls you down. The true master is not a floating being of light. He is a rooted human being who knows his own darkness, who knows he is capable of causing harm, and who chooses light every day. His light has weight. It has gravity. It is not an innocent light. It is a light forged in fire. It is the dangerous saint. Someone you respect not because they are harmless, but because you know they have a sharp sword in the scabbard and choose not to draw it. That containment is power. THIS totality, the marriage of heaven and hell. The final goal of the Master Code is not perfection, it is totality. The word holy comes from the same root as whole. To be holy is to be whole, and to be whole, you must include everything. Day and night, summer and winter, life and death, love and war. God is not just the good, God is everything. If you reject a part of reality, you reject a part of God. When you integrate your shadow, you become magnetic. People notice it. You have something. You are no longer the boring and predictable good boy. Now you have mystery. You have depth. You have authority. When you speak, people listen because they feel there is a real force behind your words. When you love with your whole being, including your instincts, not just with your educated mind. You become real, and what is real always beats what is ideal. Chapter 5. The Law of the Pendulum, Rhythm and Polarity. Everything flows and reflows. Everything has its periods of advance and retreat. Everything rises and falls. Everything moves like a pendulum. The measure of its movement to the right is the same as the measure of its movement to the left. Rhythm is the compensation. The Kybalion. The foolish man seeks light without shadow, pleasure without pain, and life without death. The wise man seeks the center, from where he can observe the turn of the wheel without being crushed by it. Tao Te Ching, paraphrase. Put your hand on your chest. Feel the beat. Thump, 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 systole and diastole, contraction and expansion. Your heart is not always open or always closed. If it remained open forever, you would die of insufficiency. If it remained closed, you would die of a heart attack. Life depends on that rhythm. Life is oscillation. Look at the sea. The waves break and then retreat. If the sea only advanced and never retreated, the land would be flooded and life would drown. Look at your breath. You inhale, take in life, and exhale. Deliver death CO2. You cannot inhale infinitely. You must empty yourself to refill. However, despite every atom of your biology and every star in the firmament obeying this law of rhythm, you, arrogant little human, have decided to declare war on it. You live under the tyranny of linearity. You believe life should be an upward straight line. You believe your economy should always grow. You believe your relationship should be an eternal honeymoon. You believe you should be happy and motivated 24 hours a day. And when the drop arrives, which is inevitable, mathematical, and necessary, you panic. You medicate yourself. You get depressed. You believe you've done something wrong. You believe the universe is punishing you. Today we are going to break that childish illusion. We are going to study the law of the pendulum. We are going to understand that the bad streak is not a system error. It is the exhalation of God. And we are going to learn that the only way not to get dizzy on this cosmic roller coaster is to learn to lean into the curves. The tyranny of the eternal summer, the error of the West. Our culture is sick with toxic positivity. They sell us the idea of perpetual growth. Companies must bill more every year. You must be more productive every day. This is cancer. In biology, the only thing that grows non-stop and without respecting rest cycles is a cancerous cell, and by doing so it kills the organism. Nature operates by seasons. There is a spring, birth sowing, a summer, growth action, an autumn, harvest, decline, and a winter, death, rest. Winter is not a fault of the weather. It is the moment when the earth sleeps to recover nutrients. Without winter, there is no spring possible. You are nature. But when your personal winter arrives, you feel sad, tired, money flows slowly, creativity dries up, you resist. You drink 5 coffees to keep producing. You force yourself to go out and party to cheer up. You blame yourself for not being successful. By resisting winter, you prolong it. You turn a natural season of rest into a hell of suffering. Suffering does not come from pain, which is natural. It comes from resistance to the cycle. If you accept that you are in winter and allow yourself to hibernate, rest and reflect, the pendulum will swing smoothly toward spring. If you fight winter, it will hit you with a blizzard. Or the mechanics of the swing, action and reaction. Imagine a swing. If you push it very high to the right, euphoria, excessive success, unbridled passion, the law of physics dictates that it must swing with the same force to the left, depression, failure, apathy. It is the law of compensation. The measure of the oscillation to the right is the measure of the oscillation to the left. This explains why lottery winners often end up broke and depressed 3 years later. The pendulum rose too fast artificially, and the fall was proportionally brutal to restore balance. It explains why that passionate and obsessive love often becomes an equally intense hate. Love and hate are the same energy, just polarized. The intensity was unsustainable, and the pendulum had to fall. The master code teaches you to distrust extreme peaks. Do not seek manic euphoria because you are signing a contract with future depression. Seek sustained satisfaction. Seek peace. Peace is found near the center of the pendulum where movement is gentle. The wise man enjoys success when it arrives, but does not cling to it, for he knows this too shall pass. And when failure arrives, he does not sink, for he knows this too shall pass. Third polarity, the two sides of the coin. To understand the pendulum, you must understand polarity. The Kybalion teaches us that opposites are the same, they only differ in degree. Heat and cold, they are the same. Temperature. You cannot say where cold ends and heat begins. It is a spectrum. Light and darkness, they are the same. Presence or absence of photons. Love and hate, they are the same. Focused passion or interest. The opposite of love is not hate, it is indifference. Fear and courage, they are the same. Energy before a challenge. This is a master key for mental alchemy. If you are terrified, low vibration of energy, do not try to calm down suddenly, that is hard. But it is very easy to transform fear into enthusiasm. Fear and enthusiasm are almost identical physiologically. Racing heart, sweaty hands, alert mind. Only the mental label you put on it changes. Fear is energy that is going to kill me. Enthusiasm is energy that is going to propel me. Instead of trying to stop the pendulum of fear, slide it along the scale of polarity. Say, I am not afraid. I am excited about what is going to happen. By changing the polarity, you use the momentum of the pendulum to your advantage. You transmute lead into gold. Balancing forces, the immune system of reality. The universe hates imbalance. When something stands out too much, when an excessive potential, as Zealand calls it, is created, the universe sends balancing forces to correct it. It is like the wind that blows to equalize atmospheric pressure. What is an excessive potential? It is giving too much importance to something. If you give life or death importance to getting that job, you generate a tension in the energy field. The universe, to relieve the tension, will make it so you don't get the job. Thus, you will relax, even if it's by crying. Balance is restored. If you idealize your partner as a perfect God, you create an imbalance. Balancing forces will act to show you their defects in the cruelest way possible. So you come down from the cloud, and the potential is neutralized. If you become arrogant and believe you are superior to others, potential of pride, the universe will send you a humiliation to put you in your place. The pendulum does not punish you for being bad, it punishes you for being heavy. It punishes you for disturbing the balance. The solution is to reduce importance. It doesn't mean you don't care about the result. It means you don't identify with it. I want this job, but if I don't get it, I will still be fine. That attitude, cold intention, does not generate excessive potential. The pendulum does not detect tension, so it doesn't hit you. You pass through invisible. You get what you want precisely because you do not need it desperately. The dark night, the turning point. In every cycle there is the lowest point. It is 4 a.m. of the soul. It is the moment just before the pendulum stops at the far left to begin returning to the right. We call this point the dark night. It is when it seems everything is lost. It is when pain is maximum. It is when doubt eats you alive. Most people give up here. This doesn't work. God has abandoned me. I will never get out of debt. They sell their shares just when the market hits bottom. They break the relationship just when the crisis was going to give way to deeper maturity. They abandon the project just before dawn. You must understand the physics of the pendulum. When the pendulum reaches its highest extreme on the negative side, the potential energy for the positive side is maximum. The deepest darkness is, literally, the fuel for the brightest light. If you are in hell right now, rejoice. It means you have accumulated a brutal amount of kinetic energy for the rebound. The only fatal error is getting off the swing at the highest point of pain. If you endure, if you breathe, if you trust the law, gravity will do its job. The pendulum must return. It is law. It cannot stay up there forever. This, surfing the wave, the art of neutralization. Hermetic masters developed a technique to not be dragged by the backward movement. They called it the law of neutralization. It consists of rising mentally above the plane where the pendulum oscillates. Imagine you are in the sea. If you are on the surface, ego level, the waves hit you. You go up and down violently. If you dive into the depth, observer level, the water is still. You see the waves above churning, but you are at peace. When a streak of bad luck or sadness arrives, apply neutralization. Recognize the cycle. I am in a phase of contraction. Do not identify. Do not say, I am depressed. Say, a cloud is passing. Do not fight. Do not try to force joy. Dedicate yourself to winter tasks, cleaning, ordering, resting, reading, planning. Observe from above. Look at your emotions as if they were data on a screen. By doing this, you take the emotional charge away from the pendulum. The negative pendulum needs your fear or your sadness to gain strength. If you give it neutrality, the pendulum loses momentum. The bad streak lasts much less. You pass through the valley of shadows quickly because you do not camp in it. Sev, the advantage of chaos, creative destruction. Sometimes the pendulum does not just oscillate, it demolishes. You lose your job, your partner, and your house in the same month. The pendulum has hit your house of cards. Your ego screams, disaster. The master code says, opportunity. Chaos is the state prior to higher order. When the pendulum destroys your old life, it is because that structure could no longer support the new energy you have been asking for. You asked to grow. You asked for freedom. But you were trapped in a small cage. The universe, to fulfill your desire, had to break the cage. The pendulum of destruction is, in reality, a wrecking ball that tears down the shack to build the skyscraper. Learn to love chaos. In chaos, rules are suspended. Reality becomes plastic. It is in the midst of crisis when the greatest fortunes are made and the greatest characters are forged. Based on the heartbeat of money, let's talk about economics, because here we suffer much for ignoring the law. Money breathes. It has cycles of inhalation, earning, accumulating, and cycles of exhalation, spending, investing. Many are afraid to spend, exhale. They cling to money. They cut the flow. In the end, they die of financial suffocation. Money stops entering because it does not leave. Others are afraid to retain, inhale. They spend everything they have compulsively. They hyperventilate. Real wealth is flow. You must be comfortable when the tide goes out, knowing it is the preparation for the rise, and you must be comfortable when the tide rises, knowing it will not last forever, and you must save seed for the winter. The novice investor buys when everything is expensive and sells when everything goes down. The master investor does the opposite. He buys panic and sells euphoria. He moves against the emotional pendulum of the masses. When everyone cries, he looks for opportunities. When everyone celebrates, he secures profits and retreats. He has dissociated himself from the collective pendulum. Neikul, the immobile center, the eye of the hurricane. The final goal is not to learn to oscillate better. The final goal is to find the axis. In every pendulum, there is a point at the very top where the rope joins the support that barely moves. Below, the seat moves at great speed. Above, the pivot is still. That pivot is your pure consciousness. Your human life below will always have ups and downs. You will have health and disease. You will have gains and losses. It is inevitable. But your I am, above, is the immobile witness. The more you approach your spiritual center, the less the peripheral movement will affect you. You can be in the middle of a war, a divorce, or a bankruptcy, and feel an unbreakable subterranean peace. That is the peace that surpasses all understanding. It is not the peace of everything is going well. It is the peace of I am anchored in the eternal, and the temporary cannot touch me. Chapter 6. The Paradox of the Broken Mirror, Fractal Reality. To see a world in a grain of sand and a heaven in a wild flower, hold infinity in the palm of your hand and eternity in an hour. William Blake. As it is above, so it is below. As it is within, so it is without. The universe is a mirror broken into infinite fragments, but each fragment reflects the complete image of the sun. Imagine you are in front of a giant mirror. You see your complete reflection. Now imagine you take a hammer and hit the mirror with force. The glass shatters into 1,000 pieces that fall to the ground. You lean down and pick up a tiny fragment, the size of a fingernail. You look inside. What do you see? Do you see a piece of your eye? Do you see your entire face? Small, yes, but complete. If you pick up another fragment, you will see the same. And in the next, the same. You have broken the surface, but you haven't broken the image. The information of the totality was contained in every point of the original surface. Welcome to the paradox of the broken mirror. Welcome to fractal reality. They have taught you that the universe is a sum of parts, planets, stars, atoms, people, trees. They have taught you that you are an insignificant part of an immense mechanism, that you are an ant in an indifferent galaxy. It is the biggest lie ever told. Quantum physics and ancient mysticism agree. There are no parts. We live in a holographic universe, and in a hologram the part contains the whole. You are not in the universe. The universe is in you. You are not a drop in the ocean. You are the entire ocean compressed into a drop. Every atom of your body contains the information needed to rebuild the cosmos from scratch. Today we will explore the architecture of the matrix. We will understand why if you change a single thought inside your head, the stars must readjust to reflect that change. The holographic principle, the source code. To understand your power, you must understand the technology of creation. In normal photography, information is distributed point by point. If you cut a photo in half, you lose half the image. In holography, information is distributed through laser interference patterns. Every point of the film contains the information of the whole scene. If you cut a hologram in half, you have two complete holograms, only with a bit less resolution. Your reality works like this. Your DNA is biological proof. If I pull out a hair, in the root of that hair is your complete genetic code. With that cell, I could clone you entirely, your eyes, your brain, your heart, your genetic memories. Your pinky finger contains the blueprint of your entire being. Extrapolate this to the metaphysical level. You are a cell of the body of God. Therefore, you contain the complete source code of God. You lack nothing. You don't have to reach enlightenment or get power. You already have it all compressed in your center. The feeling of lack is a reading error. It is as if an oak seed cried because it doesn't feel like a tree. The tree is already in the seed. It only needs to unfold. THIS, as above, so below, the law of correspondence. Hermes Trismegistus, the thrice great, carved into the emerald tablet the supreme law, quod est superius est sicut quod est inferius, that which is above is like that which is below. This is not a poetic phrase, it is a technical description of fractal structure. A fractal is a geometric figure that repeats itself at different scales. Look at Romanesco broccoli. Look at a fern. Look at lightning. Look at a river delta. The small form is identical to the large form. The structure of an atom is identical to the structure of a solar system. The structure of your brain is identical to the cosmic network of galaxies. Your blood circulation is identical to the oceans. What does this mean for you, Creator? It means you cannot separate your small life from the large life. If your room is in chaos, your mind is in chaos. If your mind is in chaos, your economy is in chaos. If your economy is in chaos, your relationships are in chaos. It is the same pattern repeating at different levels. Therefore, trying to fix a problem outside without fixing the pattern inside is useless. It is like trying to comb your reflection in the mirror. If you want to change the solar system of your life, you must change the atom of your thought. If you alter the pattern in the macro must obey. It is mathematical law. Though, the illusion of scale, size doesn't matter. The human ego is obsessed with size. It believes a mountain is larger and more important than a grain of sand. It believes earning $1 million is harder than earning $1. It believes curing a cancer is harder than curing a cold. For the master code, size is an illusion. In a fractal universe, complexity is the same at all scales. Moving an atom requires the same kind of force as moving a galaxy. Intention. For your subconscious mind, there is no difference between large and small. There is only belief. If you believe the million is large, you place it on a pedestal far from you. You create difficulty. If you understand that the million is just energy, you collapse the scale. Jesus said, if you had faith like a grain of mustard seed, you would say to this mountain, move from here to there, and it would move. Why mustard? Because it is small. He was teaching fractal law. The small contains the power of the large. You do not need a giant faith to move a giant mountain. You need a pure faith, even if it's small. A tiny laser point cuts steel better than a large diffuse bulb. The world is within you. Mystical solipsism. Here we enter the danger zone, the truth that can drive you crazy or make you free. The external world does not exist. There is no out there. Everything you have experienced in your life has occurred inside your brain. Your eyes capture photons, but the image is revealed in your visual cortex. Your ears capture waves, but the sound is heard in your mind. The entire universe is a projection on the screen of your consciousness. This means that you are the projector, the film, and the screen. Others are characters in your dream. They are not real in the sense of having independent power over you. They are reflections of your own expectations, fears, and loves. If you change, they change. Choose a person with whom you have a conflict. Instead of trying to change them inside yourself. Use revision, or simply change your internal dialogue about them. Start seeing them as kind and loving. Maintain that vision in your internal fractal. I guarantee that person will change their behavior toward you, or they will disappear from your reality to make space for another who fulfills the new script. The mirror cannot smile if you do not smile first. If you smile, the mirror has no choice but to return it. The butterfly effect, the power of the minuscule. Chaos theory tells us about the butterfly effect. The flapping of a butterfly's wings in Brazil can cause a tornado in Texas weeks later. Small changes in initial conditions generate massive results. You underestimate your small actions. You believe that to change your life you need a great event. False. Great events are just the accumulation of millions of microfractals. If today you change a small routine, you are altering the initial code of your day. That tiny change changes your morning vibration. That vibration changes how you greet your partner. That greeting changes the atmosphere of the house. That atmosphere makes you drive calmer and avoid an accident. You arrive at work with another energy, you have a brilliant idea, and 3 years later you are the director. It all started with 10 minutes. Do not despise the day of small things. The fractal universe rewards consistency in the small, not sporadic intensity. If you tidy your bed, you are tidying the universe. Literally. You are printing a pattern of order on the fabric of reality, and that pattern will expand by resonance. Fear the Indra's net, total interconnection. In Hinduism, there is the metaphor of Indra's net. Imagine an infinite spider web covering the universe. At each crossing of threads, there is a brilliant jewel. Each jewel reflects the light of all the other jewels in the net, and inside that reflection are the reflections of the reflections unto infinity. You are one of those jewels, I am another. This explains why empathy is not morality, but physics. If I harm you, I am dirtying your jewel. Since your jewel is reflected in mine, now my jewel has a dirty spot. I have dirtied myself. I cannot hurt you without hurting myself. It is impossible. The system is closed. I cannot steal from you without impoverishing myself. I cannot judge you without condemning myself. But the good news is more powerful. I cannot help you without helping myself. If I polish your jewel, my jewel shines brighter, because now it reflects a purer light coming from you. Intelligent selfishness is altruism. If you want to be the brightest being on the net, dedicate yourself to polishing everyone around you. Their light will illuminate you. Healing the fractal, Ho'oponopono. There is an ancient Hawaiian technique based purely on fractal reality, Ho'oponopono. The premise is, if something appears in my reality, it is because it shares a program with me. If I erase the program in me, it is erased in external reality. Dr. Hugh Len cured a whole ward of criminals without seeing them. He only read their files and cured himself of what he felt while reading them. He said, "I am sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you." He spoke to the part of his mind that had created that reality. By healing the internal fractal, the external fractal dissolved. This is absolute power. It means you are 100% responsible for everything you see. Not guilty, but responsible. If you see war in the world, look for the war inside you and pacify it. If you see poverty, heal your own relationship with lack. You are Agent Zero. The world is healed through you, not in spite of you. Vate, the repetition loop breaking the pattern. Fractals are recursive. They repeat infinitely if a new variable is not introduced. That's why your life feels like a scratched record. You change partners, but in 6 months, you have the same problems. You change jobs, but you have the same tyrannical boss with a different face. It is fractal recursiveness. You are projecting the same geometric pattern onto different scenarios. The scenario changes, the script is the same. To break the loop, you must introduce an anomaly. You must do something the pattern doesn't expect. If you always react with tears to abandonment, this time react with gratitude. Crack, the fractal breaks. You have introduced new data into the equation. The next iteration of the fractal, your future, must change shape. You cannot expect different results doing the same thing, but you also cannot expect different results being the same person. Be the anomaly. 9. The center of the labyrinth, the assemblage point. In Toltec sorcery, they speak of the assemblage point. It is the point where your perception assembles the world. You believe the world is fixed, but it is only fixed because your assemblage point is rusted in one position. If you move the point, the world changes instantly. The sky can turn green, time can stop, matter can become liquid. This tells us that solidity is a collective agreement, not an absolute truth. You are the anchor of your universe. If you move, the horizon moves. You are not a passive observer in a universe of dead rocks. You are the dreamer. If you wake up within the dream, lucidity, you can fly. You can walk through walls. In waking life, flying means overcoming the impossible. Walking through walls means finding opportunities where others see blocks. It all depends on the rigidity of your mental fractal. Reality will soften. Chapter 7. Death as an advisor, the end of banality. Death is our eternal companion. It is the only thing that gives value to our lives. It is our only wise advisor. Every time you feel, as you always do, that everything is going wrong and that you are about to be annihilated, turn toward your death and ask if that is true. Your death will tell you that you are wrong. Your death will tell you, I have not touched you yet. Don Juan Matus, Carlos Castaneda. He who has learned to die has unlearned how to serve. Seneca. If you are listening to this, it is very likely that you are living under the effects of a potent narcotic. It is an invisible drug that society injects into you from childhood. That drug is called imaginary immortality. You live as if you had infinite time. You postpone your dreams for someday. You tolerate jobs you hate because you need security. You fight with your partner over absurd nonsense like who takes out the trash. You spend hours sliding your finger on a bright screen watching the lives of others. You behave like a time millionaire, squandering hours as if they were copper coins that never run out. I have to wake you up with a bucket of ice water. You are going to die. It is not a metaphor. It is not a distant possibility. It is a biological certainty that is happening right now. With every heartbeat, you are a second closer. With every exhalation, a part of you goes away, never to return. Your cells have a counter, telomeres, that inexorably shortens. The beast is on its way. We do not know if it will arrive in 40 years or 40 minutes. A modern society has hidden death. We have taken it out of homes and put it into aseptic hospitals. We have applied makeup to corpses so they look asleep. We have stopped talking about it at dinner. By hiding death, we have banalized life. We have turned existence into a lukewarm, boring waiting room. The master code requires you to do the opposite. You must take death out of the closet and seat it at your table. You must look at its face. Only when you accept that your time is finite do you acquire the urgency necessary to stop being mediocre and become a master. The antidote to stupidity, the lens of finitude. Most of the problems that keep you awake are technically stupidity. You worry about what they will say. You worry about having the right car model. You worry about a small offense someone did to you 3 years ago. These worries can only survive in a mind that believes it has time to waste. Imagine you go to the doctor tomorrow and he says, I'm sorry, you have 1 week left to live. In that instant, a brutal mental alchemy occurs. Would you care what your neighbors think? 0. Would you care about having a dirty car? Nothing. Would you still be angry with your brother? You would probably run to hug him. All the nonsense, all the masks, all the vanities evaporate instantly. Only the essential remains. Love remains. The sunset remains. The taste of coffee remains. Truth remains. Death is the great filter. It separates the gold from the mud. The wise man does not wait for a terminal diagnosis to use the filter. The wise man puts on the glasses of death every morning. He looks at his schedule and asks, If I died tonight, would it be worth doing this? If the answer is no too many days in a row, he changes his life. Not next year. Today, death kills banality. Where there is consciousness of death, there can be no foolishness. The advisor on the left shoulder, the ally. In Toltec and shamanic tradition, it is said that death is our only wise advisor, and that it always walks beside us at an arm's length over our left shoulder. It is a powerful image for your daily life. When you are about to give up because you are tired, turn your head to the left and ask your advisor, "Do I have time to give up?" She will answer, "No, you don't have time. My touch can arrive at any moment. Do you want to die being a coward or fighting?" And suddenly the fatigue disappears. A cold electric force enters. When you are about to explode in anger because someone insulted you in traffic, ask your advisor, "Is this important? Is it worth spending my last heartbeats on this idiot?" She will tell you, "It is irrelevant, follow your path." And the anger dissolves. You laugh, you become untouchable. Using death as an advisor gives you an impeccable sobriety. You become sharp. You no longer kill time. You take advantage of time. You squeeze the juice out of every second as if it were the last, because you know it could be. The fallacy of someday, the cemetery of dreams. The ego's greatest deception is the word tomorrow. The ego tells you, "Tomorrow I will start the diet. Next year I will write the book. When I retire I will travel." Listen well. Tomorrow does not exist. It is a promise of the calendar, not a reality of existence. In cemeteries there are millions of people who had plans. They had plans for next Monday. Monday arrived, but they did not. Procrastination is not laziness, it is arrogance. It is the arrogance of believing you have the future guaranteed. The master code requires you to live with urgency, not haste, which is fear and stress, but urgency, which is focus and passion. It is the attitude of one who knows the palace doors are going to close soon, so they don't stop to look at the garden flowers. They go straight to the throne room. If you want to say, "I love you," say it now. If you want to forgive, forgive now. If you want to throw everything to the devil and start from zero, do it now. The risk of acting is high, yes. But the risk of not acting is the certainty of reaching the end with hands full of intentions and a heart empty of experiences. The regret of the dying is never for what they did. It is always for what they did not dare to do. The fear of life, thanatophobia. Why are we so afraid of death? Observe this with a magnifying glass. Those who fear death the most are those who have lived the least. If you have lived a full life, if you have loved, if you have risked, if you have spent yourself completely, death arrives like a deserved rest at the end of a great banquet. You are full, you are satisfied, you can leave. But if you have not lived, if you have kept love to yourself, if you have repressed your talent, if you have lived with the handbrake on, death is terrifying, because it steals the opportunity you never used. You realize the time is up and you still have the wrapper on. The fear of death is, in reality, fear of life unlived. The cure for the fear of death is not seeking security. It is seeking intensity. It is living so deeply, so dangerously, so authentically, that when the lady in black comes for you, she finds nothing to take because you have already given it all. Let her find you empty, squeezed, smiling. Let her not take a single drop of unused talent. Small deaths, the art of letting go. You don't have to wait for the biological end to practice death. The initiate dies many times in life. In fact, the secret of transformation is to die before you die. What does this mean? It means letting your old identities die. To be born as the creator, the victim must die. To be born as the free man, the good child must die. To be born as the lover, the loner must die. Every real change is a mourning. People are afraid of change because change is a small death. You lose your old skin. You lose your old certainties. You lose your old friends who no longer vibrate with you. The ego clings to the known because to the ego the unknown is death. But you who know the code know that death is the prerequisite for rebirth. If you cling to who you were yesterday, you cannot be who you are today. Let go. Let the dry leaves fall. Allow parts of you to die. Do not weep for the I you were. Thank it for its service and bury it with honors. The snake that cannot shed its skin dies. The mind that cannot change its opinions atrophies. Practice radical detachment. Ask yourself every night, what part of me no longer serves and must die today? And kill it without mercy to dawn new. Thai memento mori, the Stoic exercise. Roman emperors, when parading in triumph, had a slave behind them whispering, memento mori. Remember you will die. It was the only way to not go mad with pride. It was the only way to remember that power is temporary and that, in the end, the emperor and the beggar end up being the same dust. I propose you recover this practice, not in a morbid way, but as a high-tech spiritual tool. Exercise. Go to a cemetery, walk alone among the tombs, read the names, read the dates, look at the photos from 100 years ago. Realize that all of them had problems, loves, debts, ambitions, fears. They worried if it rained. They worried if they got a wrinkle. Where is all that now? Dissolved. The silence is absolute. Feel the peace emanating from the earth. That silence is telling you, relax. Nothing is that serious. Everything passes. Only love and consciousness remain. Use this when you have a problem. Visualize your own grave in 100 years, and from that future vision, look at your current problem. You will laugh. You will see it is minuscule. You will recover proportion. Death is the great psychiatrist. A 5-minute session with it cures you of the neurosis of self-importance. Serpent, the aesthetic of finitude, the beauty of the ephemeral. Why is a plastic rose ugly and a real rose beautiful? The plastic rose lasts forever. It is immortal, but it has no life. The real rose is beautiful precisely because it is going to wither. Its beauty is touching because it is ephemeral. Fragility is what grants value. Your life is precious because it is fragile. If you were an immortal vampire living 10,000 years, every day would be boring. Nothing would make sense. You could do everything later. Death is the black frame that makes the colors of the painting stand out. Be grateful for your mortality. Be grateful that your days are numbered. That forces you to choose. That forces you to bet. That makes this moment, this hug, this coffee unique and unrepeatable in the history of the cosmos. You will never have this instant again. Drink it. Eat it. Do not let it pass while looking at your phone. The samurai and the cherry tree, living ready. The samurai code, Bushido, was based on the total acceptance of death. The warrior woke up and meditated on his own death in 1,000 different ways. Arrow, sword, disease, sea. By accepting that he was already dead, he lost the fear of battle. He fought with total freedom, without hesitating, without trembling. And paradoxically, that lack of fear of dying was what made him survive and win. You are in a battle, modern life, but you fight with fear. You are afraid of losing your status, your money, your image. You fight with the brake on. If you accept the worst scenario and make peace with it, you become invincible. No one can blackmail a man who has already lost everything in his mind. No one can frighten a man who has already accepted his end. You become dangerous for the system. You become free. You walk through the world with the lightness of one who has nothing to lose and everything to gain. Janky legacy versus presence, the statue trap. Many men, when facing death, fall into the legacy trap. They want to leave something. They want their name to be remembered. They want a statue. This is just another form of ego trying to survive. It is the fear of oblivion. Listen to the truth of the code. You will be forgotten. In 3 generations, no one will know who you were. Even the great kings of antiquity are just names in books that no longer exist. Do not live for the legacy, future. Live for the presence, now. Your true legacy is not your name on a building. It is the energy footprint you leave on people. It is the light you ignite in your child's eyes. It is the calm you transmit to your employee. It is the honesty you offer the world. That energy is not lost. It is recycled. It expands. Do not seek to be immortal in history. Seek to be eternal in the instant. Eternity is the absence of time. Conclusion, the last dance. Traveler, the music is going to stop. We do not know when. It could be in the next song or 10 from now, but the orchestra is already tired and the lights are going to go out. Do not stay sitting in the chair, criticizing those who dance poorly, or worried about if they step on your shoes. Dance. Get on the floor. Sweat, laugh. Make a fool of yourself if necessary. Love with fury. Work with passion. Create with madness. Do not take anything to the grave. The grave only wants dry bones, not wet dreams. Use your death as a compass. If you get lost, ask her, "Advisor, where am I going?" And she will always point you toward what makes you feel alive. Because she knows her job is to take you, but your job is to make it hard for her by being such an intense blaze of life that even when you go, the heat remains in the air. Death is not the opposite of life. Death is the secret of life. Wake up. The clock is ticking. Make it count. Chapter 8. The Eternal Return. Circular Time. What if some day or night a demon were to steal after you into your loneliest loneliness and say to you, "This life as you now live it and have lived it, you shall have to live once more and innumerable times more, and there will be nothing new in it, but every pain and every pleasure and every thought and sigh must return to you"? Would you not throw yourself down and gnash your teeth and curse the demon who spoke thus? Or have you once experienced a tremendous moment when you would have answered him, "You are a god, and never have I heard anything more divine"? Friedrich Nietzsche. What has been will be again, what has been done will be done again. There is nothing new under the sun. Ecclesiastes 1:9. You have been sold a geometric lie. They have told you that time is an arrow, a straight line going from the past, behind, toward the future, ahead, passing through a fleeting point called the present. They have told you that history moves forward, that progress is inevitable, and that what you left behind is gone forever. It is a comfortable vision. It allows you to believe you can flee from your mistakes simply by running forward. It allows you to believe that if you change cities, partners, or jobs, your problems will disappear because that was before. But if you are honest, traveler, you will feel a cold sting in your stomach, because you know it is not true. You look at your life and see unsettling patterns. That toxic partner you left 5 years ago, doesn't the new partner you have now look suspiciously similar, just with another name and hair color? That financial crisis you thought you had resolved, hasn't it reappeared with mathematical precision? That feeling of emptiness you tried to fill with travel, wasn't it waiting for you in your suitcase when you returned? Welcome to the nightmare and the liberation of circular time. The universe does not operate in straight lines. The straight line is a human invention. In nature, they do not exist. The universe operates in circles. Planets revolve, seasons return, blood circulates, electrons orbit. And your life, if you do not wake up, is a giant hamster wheel. You are condemned to repeat the same lessons, the same pains, and the same scenes until you learn to stop the wheel. Today we will talk about the eternal return. We will talk about how to exit the time trap and turn the circle prison into a spiral evolution. The myth of progress, the mechanical carrot. Modern society is based on the religion of tomorrow will be better. They tell us technology will save us, that the economy will grow infinitely. But if you look at human history, you see it is a cycle of boom and bust. Empires that are born, grow, become corrupt and fall. Over and over again. Sumer, Egypt, Rome, us. We are not advancing toward a utopia. We are spinning on a cosmic Ferris wheel. At a personal level, this linear illusion keeps you in anxiety. You believe happiness is out there in the next milestone. When I get married, when I get promoted, when I retire, you run toward the horizon. But since the horizon is an optical property of the sphere, you never arrive. You simply go around the world and end up in the same place where you started, only older and more tired. Tomorrow is the carrot that keeps the donkey moving the mill. The donkey believes he is moving forward. The miller knows the donkey is going nowhere. He is only generating energy for the system. Breaking the myth of linear progress is the first step to stop being a donkey. There is no over there. There is only here, repeated infinitely in different octaves. The holographic recording, the vinyl record. Imagine your life is a vinyl record. All the songs, your events, birth, loves, traumas, death, are already recorded in the grooves. The record exists complete, all at once. The needle is your consciousness. The needle travels the groove and creates the illusion of time. It creates music. When the needle reaches the end of the record, death, what happens? In the materialistic vision, the music ends. Eternal silence. In the vision of the master code, the turntable arm lifts and returns to the beginning. The song starts over. If you do not change the record, you will listen to the same melody eternally. Nietzsche called this the heaviest weight. Imagine reliving every argument, every toothache, every moment of shame, infinite times. If your life is a work of art, this is a blessing. If your life is an unconscious disaster, this is literal hell. Hell is not a place of fire and pitchforks. It is the eternal repetition of your own mistakes without the possibility of correction. It is Groundhog Day without waking up. Why is it repeated? Because the universe is an efficient learning machine. If you do not pass the patience exam on level 1, it makes you repeat the grade. It will put you in the same situation, a shouting boss, impossible traffic over and over again, until one day, instead of reacting with anger, your recorded pattern, you react with peace. Crack. The needle jumps. The groove is broken. You have changed the song. Third, the repetition compulsion, Freud and karma. Sigmund Freud discovered that humans have a strange tendency to actively seek out situations that hurt us in the past. He called it repetition compulsion. The woman who had an alcoholic father marries an alcoholic man. The man who was humiliated in school seeks a job where his boss humiliates him. Is it masochism? No, it is a failed attempt at healing. The subconscious says, the first time, in childhood, it went wrong and hurt me. I'm going to recreate the same scene now that I'm an adult to try to win it, to try to change the ending. It is like an actor asking to repeat the take because they didn't like their performance. The problem is that since you haven't changed your internal script, your beliefs and emotions, you act the same way again, and the ending is the same. You are the victim again, you are abandoned again, and the cycle reinforces itself. The groove becomes deeper. Karma is not a punishment from a bearded god. Karma is simply inertia. It is the tendency of an object, your psyche, to stay in motion in the same direction unless an external force stops it. If you react with fear today, you increase the statistical probability of reacting with fear tomorrow. After 1,000 times, fear is no longer a choice, it is a character trait. THIS, the Ouroboros, the serpent eating its tail. The alchemists represented time as a serpent eating its own tail, the Ouroboros. It is the symbol of the cyclical and closed nature of time. We devour our own past and defecate it as future. Your future is not new. Your future is your past digested and recycled. If you eat trash, toxic thoughts, resentments, hate today, your future will be a sick body made of that trash. To break the Ouroboros, you must stop feeding on your own old history. You must introduce a new element into the diet. That element is consciousness. Consciousness is the only thing outside of time. When you observe your pattern, look, I'm about to shout just like my father shouted, you create a gap. In that gap, the serpent lets go of the tail. The circle opens. From circle to spiral, evolution. The objective of the master code is not to destroy the cycle, that is impossible while you have a body, but to elevate it. To turn the flat circle, 2D, into an ascending spiral, 3D. In a spiral, you pass through the same point, the same XY coordinates, but at a higher level, Z coordinate. Circle level. You face a financial problem and you are terrified, you get into debt and cry. Repetition. Spiral level. You face the same financial problem years later. You feel the initial fear, but this time you apply the tools. You breathe. You decree. You act calmly. You resolve the problem faster and with less pain. You have passed through the same place at money problem, but you are no longer the same. You have looked at it from above. Life will always bring you the same basic challenges: love, health, money, death. You cannot run away from the subjects of the terrestrial school. But you can attend those subjects as a master instead of as a chronic repeater. The spiral is the path of mastery. Problems do not disappear, but they stop being dramas and become puzzles. THIS, the glitch moment, the gap of freedom. How do you jump from one groove to another? How do you change the timeline? You can only do it in the now. The past is memory. It cannot be touched. The future is imagination. It cannot be touched. The only point where the needle touches the vinyl is now. Viktor Frankl, Holocaust survivor, discovered the secret. Between stimulus and response there is a space. In that space lies our freedom and our power. The stimulus is the karmic event. Someone insults you. You lose money. The response is your automatic reaction, insulting back, panicking. The space is the glitch. If you manage through training to expand GAU microsecond before reacting, you are free. In that second of silence you can decide, no, this time I'm not going to shout. This time I'm going to smile. No, this time I'm not going to feel like a victim. I'm going to feel like an apprentice. By changing the reaction, you change the vibration. By changing the vibration, you change the attraction. The universe, confused by your new reaction, has to rewrite the script. You have hacked the system. You have broken the ancestral curse of 1,000 generations. You have chosen peace. So after time travel, healing backward. If time is circular, then the past is not behind, it is below or inside. It is connected to the present. This means you can modify the past from the present. You cannot change the physical facts that a glass broke, but you can change the energetic charge of the fact. If you review your childhood and forgive your father today, you are changing your childhood, literally. Because your childhood, as it exists in your mind and cells today, is a recording of pain and abandonment. If you re-record over it with understanding and release, the signal your childhood emits changes. And since your future feeds on your past, by healing yesterday you heal tomorrow. It is the butterfly effect applied to biography. It is never too late to have a happy past. In circular time, redemption is instantaneous. The thief on the cross was saved in the last second, and that second rewrote his whole life. Wait, the new life trap, the geographical change. Many try to break the cycle by moving. I'll go to another country, I'll start from scratch, no one knows me. This is called the geographical flight. It is useless. Because you take yourself in the suitcase, you take your Ouroboros, you take your frequency. In the new country, with new people and a new language, it will take you approximately 6 months to recreate exactly the same dynamics you had at home. You will find the same type of friends, have the same money problems, and feel just as lonely. The stage changes. The actor is the same. Do not seek a new life, seek a new being. If you change, you can stay in the same city and everything will change. The city will treat you differently. The streets will seem different. Reality reorganizes around your new magnetic core. It is braver to stay and transmute lead into gold. 9. The vertigo of eternity, living forever. The idea of the eternal return is terrifying if your life is empty, but it is glorious if your life is full. If you live every instant with total intensity and presence, you will want it to be repeated. You will look at a sunset and say, yes, again, da capo, let the music play again. You will love your destiny so much, amor fati, that you won't want to change a comma. Even the pains, even the losses, you will see them as necessary notes in the perfect symphony of your existence. That is the state of Nietzsche's overman, someone who has accepted their life so radically that eternity does not scare them. Ask yourself today, if I had to live this day 1,000,000 more times, what would I change? Would you stop arguing over nonsense? Surely. Would you stop working at something you hate? Surely. Would you kiss your partner with more desire? Surely. Then do it. Live as if the record were going to repeat, because it will. Chapter 9. The Silent Observer. You are not your mind. You have a tenant in your head. He talks all day long. He judges you, scares you, criticizes you, and tells you stories about a future that doesn't exist and a past that is already dead. The most tragic thing is not that the tenant is crazy. The tragic thing is that you believe that tenant is you. Eckhart Tolle, paraphrase. The mind is a magnificent instrument if used correctly. However, if used incorrectly, it becomes very destructive. To put it more precisely, it's not so much that you use your mind wrongly. You usually don't use it at all. It uses you. Teachings of silence. Stop for a second. Listen to my voice, or the voice you use to read this. Now ask yourself the most dangerous question of all. Who is listening? There is a voice reading the words, but there is something behind that voice that realizes the voice is speaking. There is a thinker, the mind that processes information, and there is an observer, the consciousness that witnesses the process. Throughout your life, you have committed the fundamental error of identity. You have believed that you are the thinker. You have believed that you are that incessant voice that narrates your life from the moment you wake up until you fall asleep. That voice that says, I'm fat, I have no money, that guy looked at me wrong. I bring you the key to the cell. You are not that voice. You are the silent space where the voice occurs. You are the sky. Your thoughts are just clouds passing by. The clouds can be black, stormy, or white, but they can never stain the sky. The sky remains unaltered, virgin, infinite. Human suffering does not come from facts. It comes from the narrative that the mind superimposes on the facts. If you manage to separate yourself from your mind, if you manage to take a step back and observe your thoughts without believing them, suffering becomes impossible. Physical pain may still be there, but psychological anguish disappears. Today we are going to perform the final exorcism. We are going to expel the parasite from the throne and return command to the true king, the silent observer. I, the noise machine. Descartes' error. René Descartes, the father of rationalism, committed the most costly error in the history of philosophy when he said, I think, therefore I am. He equated thinking with being. He condemned us to believe that we are our mental activity. The truth is, I am, therefore I think. Or better yet, I am, and sometimes I use thought. Your mind is not you. Your mind is a tool. It is a sophisticated biocomputer designed for one thing: survival in a 3D environment. It is programmed to detect threats, analyze problems, compare data, and project future scenarios to avoid death. It is wonderful for calculating the trajectory of a spear or for designing a bridge, but it is terrible for being happy. The mind, by evolutionary design, is negative. A happy primitive man who stood staring at flowers was eaten by the tiger. The paranoid man who always thought, what is that noise in the bush, survived. You are a descendant of the paranoiacs. Your mind is a perpetual danger scanner. It always looks for what is missing, what is wrong, what could go wrong. It doesn't do it out of malice, it does it to protect you. The problem is that you have given it total control over your life. You use a survival tool, fear, analysis, to try to manage your soul, your love, and your peace. The tool has possessed the master. You cannot turn it off. You wake up at 3 a.m. and the machine is still rolling, reviewing problems, generating anxiety. That is not intelligence. It is a dysfunction. It is a disease. 2. The witness, Sakshi. In the ancient yogic tradition, they speak of the Sakshi or the witness. Imagine you are in a cinema watching a horror movie. On the screen, your mind. There are monsters, screams, blood, and chases. You, the observer, are sitting in the seat. If you identify totally with the movie, you sweat, cry, and suffer. You believe the monster is going to eat you. But if you suddenly remember that you are in the cinema, you relax. You see the blood, but you know it is projected light. You know the screen cannot cut you. You know you are safe in the seat. Spiritual enlightenment is not seeing colored lights or levitating. Enlightenment is simply realizing that you are in the seat. It is the moment you say, look, my mind is having an anxious thought. How interesting. But I am not anxious. I am observing the anxiety. That micro-distance, that space of separation, is freedom. The witness does not judge. The witness does not comment. The witness does not try to fix the thought. It simply sees, and by being seen, the thought loses its hypnotic power. It dissolves like mist before the sun. Thus, the voice in the head, the narrator. Observe your day. Observe how the voice comments on everything. You see someone on the street. Immediately the voice says, how ugly they dress. They look like my uncle. I'd like to have those shoes. Something happens at work. The voice says, this is a disaster. It always happens to me. I'm going to get fired. The voice is never in the now. It is always in the past, memory, resentment, or in the future, worry, fantasy. The now is too simple for the mind. It bores it. That's why the mind superimposes a layer of noise over reality. You never experience naked reality. You experience reality labeled by your mind. You don't see a tree. You see the labeled tree and pass it by. You don't see your partner. You see the cluster of judgments and memories you have about them. The master code invites you to turn off the narrator. Try to look at a flower without naming it. Try to listen to a noise without judging it as annoying or pleasant. Try to feel an emotion in your body without calling it sadness or fear. Just energy vibrating. When you remove the label, you regain innocence. You regain direct connection with life. The world shines again in HD colors because you have removed the gray filter of your intellect. For the pain body addiction to drama, Eckhart Tolle identified a parasitic structure called the pain body. It is an energy field formed by all your old, repressed, and unhealed emotions. It is an invisible bug that lives in you. This bug feeds on only one thing: pain. Emotional pain, drama, conflict, sadness, rage. The pain body sleeps most of the time, but when it is hungry, it wakes up and hijacks your mind. It makes you look for a fight with your partner over something silly. It makes you feel offended by an innocent comment. It makes you put on sad music to cry. It makes you remember old traumas. Why? Because it needs to feed on your negative emotional reaction. When you suffer, the bug gets fat and goes back to sleep. If you believe you are the one who is angry, you are lost. You feed the bug. If the silent observer wakes up and says, "Wow, I feel a pressure in my chest and a compulsive need to scream," it's the pain body that has woken up and wants food. If you observe it without acting, you cut off the supply. The bug kicks. You will feel very uncomfortable. You will want to react. But if you maintain presence, it weakens. You transmute pain into consciousness. The space between thoughts, the gap. Your mind is like heavy traffic at rush hour. Car after car, thought after thought. There is no space. Peace is not in the cars. It is in the space between the cars, in the silence. Thoughts are objects. Silence is the background. Your daily practice should be to search for the gap. Close your eyes. Ask yourself this question: I wonder what my next thought will be. And wait. Watch closely like a cat waiting for a mouse. In that state of alertness, there is a silence. Perhaps it lasts 3 seconds before a thought appears. Those 3 seconds are pure consciousness. Those 3 seconds are God in you. Your goal is to lengthen the gap. Make the silence last 10 seconds, 1 minute, 1 hour. The wider the gap, the more light enters your life. More intuition, more peace, more power. Great creativity does not come from thought. It comes from the gap where the new enters. For you are not your emotions, the weather. Just as you are not your thoughts, you are not your emotions either. We say, I am sad and I am angry. A grammatical and ontological error. We should say, there is sadness in me. I am perceiving anger. You are the sky. Emotion is the weather. Sometimes there is a storm, anger. Sometimes there is fog, sadness. Sometimes there is sun, joy. The sky does not worry about the weather because it knows it will pass. The sky does not say, I am a storm. The sky says, I am the space where the storm occurs. Suffering comes from clinging to the weather. If you are sad and think I shouldn't be sad, I have to be happy, what's wrong with me? You create secondary suffering. If you simply say, today it's internal rain, good. I'll put on my raincoat and watch it rain. There is no suffering. There is acceptance. And when you accept the rain, the storm passes much faster. Serpent, the death of the ego, fear of the void. Why is it so difficult to stop the mind? Because the ego is terrified of silence. For the ego, your constructed identity, to stop thinking is to die. The ego sustains itself through stories. I am the one who suffered this. I am the director of such a company. If you stop telling the story, the ego begins to dissolve. You feel a dizzying void, an abyss. Many people fill that void with noise, television, radio, podcasts, social networks, alcohol, anything rather than being alone in silence in a room, because in that silence, the mask falls off. But the master code tells you, jump into the abyss. Go through the fear of dissolution. On the other side of the fear of being nobody is the joy of being everything. When the little I falls silent, the great I am awakes. You discover that you don't need your personal story to exist. You exist much more intensely without it. You exist as pure, vibrant, eternal presence. Fate, meditation is not what you think. You have been sold meditation as a relaxation technique. Meditate 20 minutes to reduce stress. That is using a lightsaber to cut bread. Meditation is war training for the mind. It is the observer's gym. You don't meditate to relax, although it is a side effect. You meditate to train the muscle of disidentification. You sit down. The mind starts to chatter. You notice it and return to the breath. The mind goes away again. You notice it and return. Each time you notice that you've gone and you return, it's a weightlifting rep. You are strengthening the observer. You are breaking the chain of slavery with the thinker. The goal is not to have a blank mind. The goal is to stop believing the mind. To reach the point where the mind screams, "It's the end of the world," and you, from your center, smile and say, "Thank you for your opinion, but I don't believe you." Try living without a head, flow. When you manage to live mostly from the observer, you enter what athletes and artists call flow or the zone. In this state, the discursive mind turns off. You are not thinking, "Now I'm going to move my left foot." The body moves by itself. Action happens through you. It is a non-conceptual intelligence. It is the intelligence that makes your heart beat and your nails grow. It doesn't need you to think about it. The master lives in flow. He makes decisions without anguish because they arise from intuitive silence, not from analytical noise. He acts with precision. He speaks with truth. He is spontaneous. He has recovered the naturalness of the animal, but with the consciousness of the god. He has decapitated the internal tyrant. He lives without a head, guided by the heart, intuition. Chapter 10, The Solitude of God, Absolute Unity. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. Deuteronomy 6:4. In the beginning there was nothing, only the One, and the One was alone, and because it was alone, it desired to be many. So it broke itself into pieces, so it could love itself, hate itself, seek itself, and find itself. You are one of those pieces, and your neighbor is another, but beneath the disguise there is only one looking in the mirror. The Upanishads, adaptation. Traveler, we have reached the top of the mountain. The air here is so thin it's hard to breathe. We have dismantled your mind, your ancestors, your emotions, and your perception of time. We have peeled away all the layers of the onion. Now only the core remains, and the core is something that at first glance might chill your blood. They've told you that we are all one. It's a pretty phrase printed on coffee mugs and yoga t-shirts. It sounds sweet, inclusive, and warm. But if you truly understand what "we are all one" means, it isn't sweet. It is terrifying. Because if we are all one, it means there is no one else. It means you are the only being that exists in the entire cosmos. It means your mother, your partner, your enemy, your dog, and the president are just masks that you have put on. You, the unique consciousness, have put them on so as not to be bored in eternity. Welcome to the solitude of God. Welcome to mystical solipsism. This is the final truth that the ego fights not to see until the last second of death. You are absolutely, totally, and magnificently alone. But it isn't the solitude of the human who feels abandoned in an empty room. It is the solitude of the ocean that knows there is nothing outside of it because it is everything. It is the solitude of completeness. Today, we cross the last door. We face the fact that this universe is a hall of mirrors where you are only seeking yourself. I, the great boredom, the origin of the game. To understand why you are here, suffering, laughing, and struggling, you must understand the psychology of the absolute. Imagine you are God. You are infinite. You are omnipotent. You are omniscient. You can create anything with a snap. If you want a palace of diamonds, you have it. If you want the most beautiful music, it plays. There is no time. There is no death. There is no danger. At first it's fun, but after an eon of static perfection, you get bored. Boredom is the only thing God cannot stand. Perfection, without contrast, is death. It is tasteless. So you decide to play a game. You decide to play hide and seek. But since you are alone, you have to hide from yourself. You have to forget who you are. You have to limit yourself voluntarily. You decide to fragment into billions of sparks of consciousness. To each spark you give a body, a name, a story, and total amnesia. And you throw them into the world of time and space. You are one of those sparks. Your mission in the game is to believe you are a small, fragile, and mortal human. Your mission is to feel fear, feel pain, feel desire. Why? Because pain is real. Fear is intense. For an infinite being who can never be harmed, the human experience is the most exotic and exciting thing possible. You aren't punished on Earth. You are on vacation. You are in a high-intensity amusement park, feeling the adrenaline of believing you're going to die, knowing deep down, very deep down, that it is impossible. To the illusion of the others, the cast, here we enter the hard zone of the code. You look at your partner and think, it's another person, they have their own soul, separate from mine. At the level of the game, 3D, yes. At the level of the code, absolute, no. There is only one consciousness. That consciousness is looking through your eyes right now, and it is looking through the eyes of your partner at the same time. It is like a puppeteer who has a puppet in the right hand and another in the left. The puppets talk to each other, kiss or fight. But under the table, it is the same actor doing both voices. When you understand this, your relationships change radically. You can no longer hate anyone. How are you going to hate your own left hand? If someone insults you, it is God, you, disguised as an enemy to test you. If someone loves you, it is God, you, disguised as a lover to embrace you. Everything is a monologue, disguised as a dialogue. This destroys victimhood. Why are they doing this to me? No one does anything to you. You do it to yourself through the agency of others. To experience something, you wrote the script before you were born. You hired the actors. The villain of your life is the actor who loves you most. He accepted the hardest role, making you suffer so you would wake up, knowing you would end up hating him at the human level. When you wake up, you can only say, "Thank you for your performance. It was very convincing. I almost believed it." THIS, the fractal mirror, total projection. If only you exist, then the external world is not a place, it is a mirror. Literally, everything you see outside is a projection of your internal state. You don't see the world as it is, you see the world as you are. If you have fear inside, the world will fill with thieves, viruses, and economic crises. You will see threats in every shadow. If you have love inside, the world will fill with kind people, opportunities, and beauty. The mirror has no preferences. The mirror is neutral. It only reflects. The ignorant person tries to clean the mirror. He tries to change people, change the government, change the weather. He spends his life rubbing the glass, shouting at the reflection, "Stop being sad, stop being poor." But the reflection cannot change if the face looking in doesn't change. The master stops looking at the mirror and looks at himself. He changes his expression. He smiles. And magically, the reflection in the mirror smiles back. The world has no will of its own. The world is your shadow. The shadow cannot move if the body does not move. Move your consciousness, and the mountains will move. IV, the fear of solitude, vertigo. When this truth begins to sink in, the ego feels vertigo. It feels a cosmic cold. So I am alone? There is no one to take care of me? Is there no Father God out there? No, there is no Father God outside. You are the Father, the Mother, and the Son. You are the Alpha and the Omega. The ego calls this solitude and gets depressed. The spirit calls this oneness and is liberated. The difference between loneliness and solitude is the quality of consciousness. Loneliness is the sadness of being isolated. Solitude is the glory of being complete. If you are everything, you lack nothing. You don't need anyone to complete you, because you are not a half. You don't need anyone to validate you because you are the only authority. You don't need anyone to save you because you are the savior. At first it's scary because it implies total responsibility. You can no longer blame your parents or society or the devil. You are the only one guilty and the only one innocent. But once you assume the throne, the fear disappears and an indestructible peace enters. The peace of knowing you can never be abandoned, because there is no one who can leave you. Love as recognition, real namaste. What is love in the master code? Human love is commerce. I give you sex, affection if you give me security, attention. Divine love is not an emotion. It is a fact of recognition. To love is to look at another and see God. It is to look at a stranger and know they are yourself in another timeline. It is collapsing the separation. When Jesus said, "Love your neighbor as yourself," he wasn't giving a moral order. He was giving a technical description of reality. Love your neighbor because they are yourself. Hurting them is stupid. It is biting your tongue. Helping them is intelligent selfishness. It is healing your hand. When you reach this state, you stop judging. How are you going to judge a murderer if you know that, given the same genetic and environmental circumstances, you would be him? How are you going to envy a millionaire if you know he is another version of you experiencing wealth? Absolute compassion is born from absolute understanding of unity. It is no longer me and you. It is we, and not even we, but the one. Fight Lila, the divine dance. In Hinduism, the game of life is called Leela, divine play. God dances for himself. Life is not an exam. It is not a school where you have to get good grades to go to heaven. You are already in heaven. Life is a play, a musical improvisation. The purpose of music is not to reach the end of the song. The purpose is to dance while it plays. The purpose of life is not to get somewhere when success, enlightenment. The purpose is to play. Why do you take everything so seriously? Why do you suffer for your career, your wrinkles, your bank account? It's just props. It's makeup. When you die, you'll take off the costume, leave the stage and laugh with the other actors in the cosmic dressing room. What a drama we made. How well you cried in the divorce scene. I almost believed it. The Master Code invites you to live with lightness. It doesn't mean being irresponsible. It means not being heavy. Play your role with passion. If you are a doctor, be the best doctor, but knowing it is a role. Don't identify so much with the character that you forget the actor. The actor is immortal. The character is temporary. Enjoy the mask, but don't let it stick to your face. Serpent, the death of hope, living without future. Hope is considered a virtue. I tell you, it is a prison. Hope implies that the present is bad and the future will be good. Hope takes you out of the now. It makes you live in a mental projection. I hope this changes. I hope to be happy tomorrow. The Master kills hope to give birth to trust. Hope is passive, waiting for something to happen. Trust is active, knowing that everything is perfect. In absolute unity, everything that happens is God's will, your deep will. Therefore, everything is perfect, even what seems imperfect to the ego. Pain is perfect to wake you up. Loss is perfect to teach you detachment. Crisis is perfect to force you to move. When you radically accept the present as it is, without wanting to flee from it toward an imaginary future, suffering ceases. Suffering is the distance between what is and what I want it to be. If you eliminate what I want it to be and embrace what is, the distance disappears. You join reality. You become a lover of what is. Amor fati. That is real happiness. Not that good things happen, but loving the things that happen. Fate, the silence of the summit, Sat Chit Ananda. When you reach the summit of understanding, there are no fireworks. There are no angels blowing trumpets. There is silence, a dense, vibrating, living silence. The Vedas call it Sat Chit Ananda, existence, consciousness, bliss. Sat, you are. You exist. You are real. You are not an illusion. Chit, you are conscious. You realize that you are. You are the light that illuminates the world. Ananda, that conscious existence is, by nature, blissful. It isn't an euphoric joy, like winning the lottery. It is a quiet bliss, a fullness without cause. You are well simply because you are. In this state, you no longer need to do anything to be happy. It's enough for you to breathe. It's enough for you to see a leaf fall. It's enough for you to taste water. You have recovered the capacity for wonder. You have returned to the state of the child, but with the wisdom of the old man. You have closed the circle. There's the return to the market, chop wood, carry water. What do you do after discovering you are God? Do you go to a cave? Do you let your beard grow? Do you put on an orange robe? You can do it, but it's an escape. The true master returns to the world. He returns to the market. He returns to the office. He returns to changing diapers. There is a Zen saying, before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. On the outside, nothing changes. You still pay taxes. You still get the flu. You still have to walk the dog. On the inside, everything has changed. Before you chopped wood complaining, thinking about when you'd finish, suffering from the weight. Now you chop wood feeling the texture of the timber, smelling the forest, grateful for the movement of your muscles, knowing that you are the wood, the axe, and the woodsman. You do ordinary things with extraordinary consciousness. You spiritualize matter. Your mere presence in the office changes the environment. You don't need to preach. Your peace is contagious. You become an acupuncture point for the planet. Wherever you go, you heal the fabric of reality simply by being there, without judgment, without fear. Conclusion: the awakened player. Silence has fallen. The last word has been spoken. The audio stops. Take off your headphones for a moment. Breathe. Look around you. The room seems the same. The light enters through the window just like yesterday. The sound of traffic continues outside. Your body still weighs the same. At first glance, nothing has changed. But you and I know that everything has changed. The person who pressed play at the start of this journey no longer exists. That person was an inhabitant of the dream, one more piece in the gears, a battery connected to the system to feed the egregores. That version of you has died. It has been dismantled piece by piece, lie by lie. What remains now, sitting in that chair, is something much more dangerous for the established order, an awakened player. You have received the master code. Now you see the invisible threads that move politicians, your neighbors, and your own fears. You know that scarcity is a mental program. You know that your lineage is not a sentence, but a quarry of energy. You know that your shadow is not a demon, but your reservoir of power. You know that death walks on your left, and that time is a circle you can break with a single moment of pure consciousness. And most dizzying of all, you know that you are alone at the top of the pyramid of existence, creating all of this for your own delight and evolution. The question burning in your chest now is, what now? Should you sell your possessions and go to the Himalayas? Should you go out into the street to shout the truth to the sleepers? No, that would be falling into the trap of the spiritual ego. The Master Code does not ask you to abandon the game. It asks you to play it, but this time with the cheats activated. From today on, you become a double agent in the Matrix. On the outside, you will look like a normal citizen. You will go to your job, you will pay your taxes, you will greet your family, you will do the shopping. No one will notice anything strange, except perhaps a haunting glow in your eyes and a supernatural calm in the face of chaos. But on the inside, you will walk with a secret smile. When your boss shouts at you, you will not see a tyrant. You will see a pendulum trying to steal energy from you, and you simply will not react. You will observe it, smile internally, and continue working, invulnerable. When an economic crisis arrives, you will not run like a headless chicken. You will remember that it is winter in the cycle of the pendulum. You will put on your coat and wait for spring, while others freeze in panic. When you fall in love, you will not lose yourself in the other. You will love with savage intensity, knowing that you are loving another version of yourself, without attachment, without fear of loss. That is the difference between the pawn and the player. The pawn suffers because he believes the board is real. He believes that if he is eaten, he dies. The player knows it is a game. He knows the board is made of cardboard, and because he knows it is a game, he dares everything. What would you do if you knew you could not truly die? What would you do if you knew that failure is just a way of collecting data for the next level? What risk would you take today if you knew that the entire universe is you pushing yourself? Fear evaporates when you understand the mechanics of the code. Shyness becomes absurd. Shame becomes irrelevant. I warn you of one last thing. Do not try to wake up those who want to sleep. It is the rookie's mistake. You will see your friends suffering through unnecessary dramas. You will see your family repeating ancestral patterns, and you will want to shake them. You will want to explain the code to them. Do not do it. They will defend themselves. They will attack you. They will protect their dream with tooth and nail because their identity depends on it. Respect their process. You were there until recently. Do not be a noisy alarm clock. Be a lighthouse. A lighthouse does not run around the island looking for ships to save them. A lighthouse stays still and shines. Shine so brightly, live with such freedom, with such abundance and with such peace, that they are the ones who come to you and ask you, "What is your secret? Why are you not afraid?" Only then, and only if they ask you, hand them the code. The audiobook ends here. My voice will disappear in a few seconds. You will be left alone with the silence, but that silence is no longer empty. It is full of infinite potency. It is the blank canvas where you are going to paint your masterpiece. Do not go back to sleep. Do not let the routine hypnotize you again. Keep your eyes open. Keep the sword of consciousness sharp. The world is yours. It is not a metaphor. It is yours, literally. It is happening inside of you. You are the projector, the film, and the spectator.